safe and secure.
Oh, you just explained that. They said the wrong amount, because originally I told them that the only reason you said that to make a difference, that was before I entered into the previous invoices in, so what I did, there was actually no money left. So he knows who's
We'll
gonna.
do that on the.
Yeah, he's gonna drop off the rest tomorrow.
It's really from safe and secure. I thought you were asking like something safe and secure.
I think it is. Let me forget. No. Yeah. I think I'll forget.
So what else is going on here tonight?
Meeting
All
wise?
right. Do we want to wait for Mark? Raj is going to be late because he's at the.
Yes.
So I guess we'll start. If there's a way to start. No, I don't see anybody there,
Well, we don't have any microphones today.
but right. So I think they do it all because they're at FISP or somewhere else that's more important than us.
Great.
So that's okay with me. That we're being taped.
So is he fit?
All right.
That's why the camera's here, because they can't do
Right.
two meetings on the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
But where's
Sounds
all
good.
that noise coming
Heating.
from? People talking.
Board of Health
Oh.
is on the other side.
I was really sort of shocked. All these meetings are on YouTube.
Yeah, it is. And then you see how many people viewed it. That's what really scares me.
Oh,
How many?
is it a really small number?
Like 100 maybe. But I'm still surprised there's that many people that
Hey,
watch.
very popular.
It must be you.
No, because you're the chair.
Because you know I do so much stuff.
Just they don't have any entertainment.
Well, not tonight. Mark's not here.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, right, well, we'll try to make up for that.
That's right. All right, so we've got a continuation of the public hearing for Bethlehem Bible Church, 307 Lancaster Street. It's been continued a couple of times, and so we got a request last week asking for planning board public hearing to be continued to the 28th for plan revisions.
I'm gonna tell them, or I'll tell them. Kind of quiet.
Right.
Eric's gonna take up everything, and I'll hear nothing.
You said the 28th?
Yes, our next meeting is the
27th.
27. Right, Dave?
No, their email is to the 28th.
Oh, they
It's the 28th is the CBA meeting, that's why.
It's the 27.
Here he is.
You guys got this?
No, not yet.
We need
But we're starting on the public hearing, so you didn't miss
We need
it.
you to talk about the Bethlehem Bible Church.
Bethlehem Bible Church.
You need to talk about it?
Asked
Oh,
asked for another
yeah, we put
extension.
you up to talk about it.
What do you read? Something? What are you gonna do?
No, not yet, but I'm not sure what other people feel, but I actually sent them an email, and it's been, I think it's 3 months, is it?
All of that.
Plus a little, that we've continued the hearing?
Yes.
Well, it was in January that they started, wasn't it?
Was it?
Was it that long?
Well, the public hearings was like
4
June,
months,
July.
4 months that they've
public
passed.
meeting, yeah.
They might have
It's
came
June,
once, set it
July.
up, and then 3 continuance came, set it up, 1, 2, 3.
Right.
About 5
So
months.
my issue is that this period has gone on, and people received a notice
Right.
back in either May or June, so that they're not really even aware, unless they're paying total attention to our meetings, which I don't expect people to do. I would almost entertain the idea of closing the public hearing, and then, well, actually, we can't because,
I would just close the, like, end their application, you know, and so they have to reapply there.
yeah, I'm not sure how to do it. I don't know, I was hoping to get
Somebody's
something
done it.
back.
Somebody did
Well-
it because they wanted to change something pretty substantial, so they came in with, oh, it was them! They came in with a preliminary, and then they withdrew.
Yeah,
and
but
came back later.
but they have to withdraw without prejudice. They have to submit a request to withdraw without prejudice. We can't just cancel a meeting on it.
Well, and we
That's-
can't ask them to withdraw.
I did. I sent them an email and asked them to withdraw, and I never heard anything back.
And did they say why
They were saying to make corrections for the peer, based on the peer review of the project. So they have had VHB look at it. VHB made comments they have to revise their plan,
Okay.
but it's been 3 months. It shouldn't really take that long.
Besides being tired of that, is there a limit or just it could continue it forever?
We have a 90-day time frame to close and issue a decision.
Okay,
They offered to extend that for another 2 months, I think it is, so we're covered under that. But my concern is that if there are butters who are concerned, they're really not getting
well,
notification.
there's no new, and there's no new notification in the paper or anywhere.
We can ask them to do that. We could say, we're gonna, sort of suspend this, because it's a new word that they've never heard before, So we're gonna suspend, and then when you decide you're ready and you're done with the stuff with VHB, which can continue in the background, we're gonna do this again with another set of abutter notices.
So why don't we have the opportunity now to continue it either to the 27th, which is 2 weeks, which doesn't give us time to make a notice. We could do it to the October meeting, and then that would give them time to send the notices out for the October meeting if they're really serious.
If they want to, I mean, we're gonna tell them, it's up to them.
Right.
We're considering this suspended.
How about we
Well, we
suspend it
can't
to like
just-
October 25th?
For the hearing?
Yeah.
Well, we can't actually suspend it, we have to continue it to,
Continue it
a
until
certain
October
time.
25th. That way it gives them
it gives them a
No.
month.
over.
And-
I thought the idea would be to, this new round of abutter notices, we could do that then, because now there's.
There's time, but they don't have to do any of it. We have asked, and it's, I think, reasonable, but they can say, nope, the bylaws and the law says I have to make the notice of the public hearing. Well, we don't have to continue the public hearing.
Well, we
can
don't
just
have to
close
approve,
the public
we
hearing.
could disapprove their whole project then.
Right.
I mean, and then they can't have to come back for a year.
Yeah, well, if they change it, but yes.
Unless they change.
Yes, so,
I
I
mean, that's
guess,
our choice.
right,
We've closed the public hearing, we don't accept your extension, and we've denied your application.
Yeah, I would want to do that.
No,
I
I
don't want to
don't
do
need
that
that.
though.
that's
But
not,
it's not like we're without, it's not like we have nothing to do.
right, and we have continued it for 3,
Right,
if not
the
4
first 3
months.
Yeah, what if we say October 25th, because then that gives them
And
plenty of
then as a
time.
courtesy to re-notify the abutters.
All right, that sounds
That
like
sounds
good.
fair.
Do you have a motion
Yeah.
for that?
I mean,
Oh, go ahead.
I make a motion to continue the public hearing until October 25th at 7 PM
And request the
and request
applicants to notify the abutters.
applicants to notify the voters again.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's
Sure. And you're gonna send that back to them, that notice? or
No,
not?
Mark said he'd do it.
Oh, Mark, okay.
Don't
No,
worry.
no, I won't do it.
Don't worry about it.
Mark's all over it.
No, I'll do it.
So our meeting is October 25th,
It is.
so
Yeah.
at 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
let's do that.
7:05, update on building inspector review of zoning violations. He has gone up and he's talked to a couple of people. We've had a couple of projects call in. 21 Franklin Street submitted a,
No, I didn't make copies for everything with all that. I
Okay.
just figured that he could
Okay.
read and see which ones they were, if you wanted everyone copied.
No,
right, so I thought, did we get something from
There was a
the
couple of as-built. I think.
Franklin Village?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, 21 Franklin Street, so they did that. So we can send this over to VHB for their
Which
review.
project?
The liquor store
Yeah, okay.
on Franklin Street, right across the
Not
street.
the village
Yeah.
one. but-
Right, no,
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
the
right.
liquor store, yeah.
So, yeah, so
Okay.
we can send that, so that's good. We're making progress with that, so we can hopefully close that up.
It's because I stopped and talked to them.
You did? Excellent.
See,
It
Told
was
you.
wine tasting
No, no,
night.
no,
It's all about wine tasting night. We'll all go.
I know, why can't you? That's right. October 13th,
Tell them
7
that.
PM at the Manor.
All right, so we have the paperwork. Can we forward it to Wayne so that he can
You
go
want
up?
that just as this goes to him, to ask him for a final
Yes.
review?
Yep.
Well, I mean, we know there's gonna be issues.
I hope not. I hope
There's the
they,
tree stuff and.
well, I hope they planted a tree. That's the only thing that I can think of, so it shouldn't have
I
to.
looked 2 days ago and there was nothing
Well,
except a flag.
The trouble is if they haven't done it, it goes to VHB, they go out and look. And then we send VHB out there for $300 to go and see.
It tells the other entry.
I wouldn't do that if I were a business owner, but
Right.
it would cost them more in charges than to just plant.
Well, that's what I mean. Should we tell them to, I mean, that's gonna be one of the things that.
When you go to the wine tasting, you can try that.
Yes, come to the wine tasting. October 13th, 7 PM at the
Was
Manor.
this for the library?
Yeah, for the library. Yeah, for the library.
It's a
library.
fundraiser. I was wondering why.
Yes.
Library.
Yeah.
All right, so that was for the building inspector has sent a request for as-built and for information relative to the sites for 99 Hartwell Street, for Holy Cross, 1000 Goodale Street, and Flag RV, 66 West Boylston Street. So
What do you have from that?
he's, the steel building that was installed under this permit is required to have a special permit and site plan review. Please contact the planning board to arrange a meeting.
Oh,
So he did,
Right.
That's light.
his wording is, it's very, I've been notified by the planning board, so we get the
But
plan
that's the same thing.
for
they
doing
don't-
zoning enforcement, but
right.
They should have came,
sorry, it still works.
they've already had that meeting.
Yeah, and they already came to us, so they are aware of it, so I think that's good. So we are making progress.
It's good.
Are they coming back to you, Flag?
We got a message, and I think they want to come in for our next meeting, but I gotta confirm that.
And I don't know what he said, I'll call him.
Right.
You guys want to do it, zoning.
So that was that. Next on our agenda for new business is 151 Shrewsbury Street, a site plan review. They have some proposed building changes or a change.
Yeah, just, it's not a usage change, it's just a design change, really.
One of your storage buildings is up.
1.5, actually. So basically, this is 5 copies that we have. So we started the project, we had one large building over here that was basically the entire size, shape, and everything. What we did is we cut the building size less than half and put 2 more non-climate controlled units. At the end of the reason why a lot of the contractors were not happy with how close it was to get the power on this side of the street. The building was really big and they missed the quote by over $1 million.
Is $1 million electrical pole?
No, well, I mean, the guy who designed the building was from Pennsylvania, and a lot of the codes were different down there, and every time I turned around, it was, you gotta add this, you gotta add this, you gotta add this. And I just got to the point where I was like, you know, sometime I gotta come up with a plan B. So the only other change, that Bentley really, I mean, it's a smaller building, less drainage, so we're basically overbuilt at this point for drainage and all that impervious.
And it's paved in between.
Yes,
So it's the
yeah.
same drainage issue.
It is.
But it's still grading the same way.
Everything is exactly the same. The only thing we did add to stop a little congestion in this area right here is an exit only right here. So there'll be a camera system here and a keypad so that people aren't coming in and exiting in the same area. I mean, that's when.
Is there a curb cut there now?
No, there's nothing here now. The only one that's here is on this piece right here, which is shared almost between this building and this building. So now you've got these people coming in and out, you've got these people coming in and out. So I just thought it would be easier for somebody to come in here. There's gonna be a gate right here, like you see. All this is exactly the same as the old plan. So when this gate opens, they can come to this storage unit and just.
But they could leave, you know.
Yeah, just save a little bit of congestion. It is an exit only, there will be no entrance.
Is there an exit on this side too?
Exit and entrance on this.
No, it's the ski.
Yes, yes, so this is a power
So
gate
you
right
could come
here.
out.
Yes, they could come out here.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, just so they have two.
But there'd be nobody coming in off the street. There'll be no gate access from the outside. This is just a simple exit only, like if they'll come in, they'll punch their
Cool.
code number and the gate will open and they'll leave.
Who do you ask about curb cuts?
DPW, no, DPW guy, and the other thing that we
Police.
probably would want to do is police and fire. Fire mostly just for building
Yeah.
stuff.
And then what I did is I also brought you the architectural, just so you can kind of see what that smaller building's gonna look like. It's exactly the same building, we just took the top
Half the
of
size.
it. Yes. So the same setup. So this is how it will sit on Shrewsbury Street, so this road is right here. So they'll come off, it'll be the same area, the office right here, the gate is right here. So this is how the unit mix is made up, and what we did is we put one interior wall. So these units are not climate controlled, they're inside this
Okay,
area
yeah.
is climate controlled.
Oh, okay.
So the smaller building, there's no need for sprinkler systems and.
Oh, really?
elevators, Yeah.
Because it's small enough?
Yeah, that was the other thing they kept hitting me on, was the sprinkler systems and the elevators that we had.
And the
Two
storage
elevators.
people don't want sprinklers, just for their stuff?
No, I mean, it's basically a self, I mean,
Yeah.
it's grandma's collectibles and, yeah. So that was the other thing, every time we turned around, they said, oh, you got this zone for sprinkler, we had one elevator in it, come to find out that we needed 2, and each elevator was, $300,000,
Yeah.
it was, you couldn't do block, it had to be poured concrete, it was, then now a foundation had to be redone, it was just, you know, something just.
So in a single story, and
Yeah, single story, nowhere near power lines, further off the street, so.
How do we look as far as the building? Has it got a little bit of character as opposed to just being?
Yep, so you've got where the offices is stone. So right here, I believe, right side elevation, yeah, so here's your office entrance. I mean, they're gonna be steel panels, but this area right gonna be veneered with stone around the corner, just like the other one.
that's the street side.
What's, it- I'm
So
thinking
this-
mostly street side.
Right
is what
here,
we're looking for.
This corner right here, so you'll have the
So
gray
that's the
steel.
street side.
Yeah, the gray steel panel with the trim, just like the other ones, and then you'll have the block, the stone veneer around the corner. You can kind of see the etching on the, it's not solid steel. So the building is basically just like the other steel building.
Yeah,
The windows.
well, those were further back. Oh, no, actually,
No.
the original building, you mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the original building was 20 feet closer to the street, and it had the same thing, just 2 stories. And we had the Safe and Secure Storage logo up top, that's the only difference. I mean, I probably am gonna do that down here, I just didn't think you guys needed to see the signage.
Well, if we approve the sign, then it's better.
Well, I'm not gonna put, the only thing that's gonna be is on the building, because in between the property right,
Yeah, there's a sign for
yes,
this.
there's a sign for this building right here, and we're just gonna put something underneath. We really don't, I mean, it's not like we're at, once we get 250 people, we're full. So it's not, you know what I mean? We're
So no more
not selling
advertising.
hamburgers or, you know, so it's not like
Once
it's
you're there.
Yeah.
Yeah, once we get full, they're full.
Yeah.
The baseball field, I don't know if you pulled it there, but it'll be done in 2 weeks.
Oh, really? Okay.
I didn't see it behind, I just saw
I met
the.
with the Parks and Rec guy, and the town's gonna have over 200 hours on the next year.
Excellent.
So everything's going really well.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start my variance through DCR to try to get more buildings in the future. If you have it, good luck with that one.
Yeah. So what do we think about this being an amended site plan? Does it need to be
Do you
an
want to
amended site
amend
plan review, or just this can be reflected on the as-built? He's come before us before doing the work, which is a nice change.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, I think it's workable, it's a reasonable thing, but it's the board's decision, so.
I always look at it as, we would have approved this
Yes.
previous.
Right.
If that was the original design, it would have been okay.
It seems like less impact than the previous.
And we're saving $200,000.
Yeah, one story instead of 2 and farther back to the road, so it's less,
Right.
less,
Less
less
basic.
food, yeah, right.
Yeah, so
So
the
I
only
think
thing,
I could go
my
with-
only thought is that we pass it by, make sure you get it to the fire chief with that new access, that's a little new circulation. I think he'll be okay with it, but they're the ones that make the call. We just
Ben
get
has
a
this,
letter.
he has, I've been staying with, he was the one that said, it's not a usage change, but you still need to go in front of the board, so that's.
Yeah, no, that's
Right.
good to.
Yep, and you should- that's perfectly true.
So I
That's right.
can leave these with you, what I'll do is can I just take one copy and.
Take one.
Yeah.
Actually, how many do we need?
Do you want to do the distribution then?
Do you have it electronically? You can send it
I
to
do.
the VHB,
I do.
so they have them, so when they go out and inspect it.
Yeah. Well, Carly already sent it to him, actually,
Okay.
because they're obviously
Yeah, good.
involved, so they said this is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they just told me to email them after this meeting, and let them know.
Yep.
Okay.
They already have it.
Okay, so that's good. And then maybe you could email the fire chief.
Okay.
Just
So
say,
we don't, I don't know if we need all the plans, but
I mean,
A lot of
it'd be nice to have.
No, but
at
I'd like
least
to have a
something.
couple anyway for the file.
Yes.
Did Bentley forgot his right?
does he have one?
Who's that?
Bentley? The
Yeah.
building inspector? He has one. So
The
you're.
only thing he doesn't have is a foundation drawing, which I just got today, I'll give it to him tomorrow, whatever.
Yeah. Okay, so that sounds good. So
Oh,
we
yeah.
have,
Sure.
do we have a motion then for?
I make a motion to make it a minor change that will be reflected on the bills. That's not minor, it's not minor, what's the word?
Oh, it's a change.
Insubstantial.
Yeah, yeah, right.
Second.
Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor? Good.
Would you say it was not a substantial change?
Right, not a substantial change.
He didn't say it that well.
No, I didn't
No, I
think
said
so.
a
I said
couple
minor
different
change.
ways. Eventually came up with.
We got it all.
But it's-
He tried something.
Get the right answer, that's all that matters, right? All right. Thanks.
And the second.
Thanks for working with the
Thank you very
town.
much.
Thank you.
I seconded that motion.
I'm sorry, now you're singing.
Do we get our name tag, is that yours? Oh.
All right, so warrant articles.
You didn't have the one that I'm supposed to bring.
we're doing this one first. So we got a request, even though after at our last meeting, we talked about the need for having the change to the parking in the single residence district for off-street parking for vehicles, commercial vehicles in single residence or in residential districts. We
And I'm
thought,
having trouble talking.
I know, that's right. And so, we talked at our last meeting and said we hadn't gotten anything from the building inspector and it didn't appear to be an issue, so we weren't moving forward. And shortly thereafter, I got contacted from the town administrator who said this is an issue the town has spent thousands on with court costs and she'd like to get it addressed. So with that impetus, we're proposing this new warrant article. It was sent out in the mail, and I guess it's an amendment to, or a change to section 5.2F of the off-street parking and loading requirements to reduce the gross vehicle weight of trucks that can be parked overnight in a residential neighborhood. And they're dropping it from 18,000 pounds to 12,000 pounds. And some other minor rewording that I haven't detailed yet.
Okay, so this section already exists. We're changing something.
Yes, so it's basically the pounds.
Okay.
I thought we had discussed 14,000 pounds.
We did, and we got some feedback from Bentley, the building inspector, who recommended that we use 12,000, and it would not impact. Yeah, that's the old stuff, but he was supposedly giving us something new, and I guess we don't have it, but basically it was his recommendation for the 12,000 pounds, and he's going to have the description of what vehicles this will not allow. But we also, the other thing that he said in this is 18,000 to 12,000 pounds, and then the next phrase, and in excess of 2 axles.
Oh,
So that's where it kind of triggered that you can't have like a 3-axle vehicle parked overnight. I don't know what
You mean end in excess, so it's end in excess, not or in excess.
Right, if it's under 12,000 and has 3 axles, then it's okay.
Okay.
Oh, cool, like an Indy car. Those Indy cars with the 2 front wheels.
Well, actually, this is where we get into the details, so if you guys want to read it, that's the way I read it. What do you read the sentence, so we don't have to do it and come back in again if you read it?
it says
If
and
it's
12,000 pounds
two-
and.
Yeah, but if it's over 12,000 pounds and it has more than 2 axles. So, would you ever have a vehicle that was over 12,000 pounds that had 2 axles?
Yeah,
Like,
box trucks, I mean, we have
Okay.
3 of them in our,
Well,
Okay, right,
this,
right. And
I'm
those
just
are the
saying
ones we
the
don't
sample
want.
is
and those are
like,
okay.
No,
like,
those are the ones we don't want parked there.
well,
Well,
they,
you see
they
by
are,
the dairy
they have 2
lady,
axles and are in excess of 12,000 pounds, so they'd be knocked off by the weight, you know?
Then it should be an or.
a truck like
Well,
this.
it's,
Box truck. I call it box truck.
the way this reads is you have to be over 12,000 pounds and have more than 2 axles.
Right, yeah.
Oh, then it should,
So we need to,
it should be the weight or, and or. Because I mean, like,
that's why I'm asking the question.
Yeah.
I don't do, English is not my
What's the
subject.
intent? Yeah, so what's the intent? A 3-axle vehicle that's lighter than 12,000 pounds, is that okay?
Is there such a thing?
I don't know.
lighter than 12,000 pounds?
Yeah.
I mean, a goofball car, I mean, something may not.
But we wouldn't worry about those? I mean, would they be okay in a residential neighborhood?
If you took the, now I'm taking a look by taking the 2 considerations separately. If it was a light vehicle with 9 axles, would it be okay if he parks there?
Would it?
You know, I mean, that
That's
would be the
what it's
question.
allowing.
Right, and if it's a heavy vehicle with only 2 axles, it's,
It's, no,
Cut off.
it's cut off,
So
right?
a typical passenger car has 2 axles.
right, yeah.
That part we got, yes.
So, okay. I don't
But
know.
in box trucks, we've got 2 axles.
Yeah,
Yes.
until they get, I mean, over also
Over,
weight,
yeah.
And then, like, semi-trailers, there's even some semi-tractors that have 2 axles, you know?
Well, I think this might be where, when you have a cab.
Yep.
The cab may weigh less than 12,000 pounds.
But have 3
But it's
axles.
gonna haul a lot of stuff, so this,
Well,
Yeah,
that's,
but what about RVs?
Yeah, actually, like a Greyhound bus has 3 axles.
Because they have more
RVs
than,
have more than 2
Yeah, but
axles.
They have-
Sometimes, right. Yeah.
they have 2 to 3,
But are they over 12,000 pounds?
I think so.
I'm guessing some of them might be.
I don't really know.
Yeah, they're probably in that range, but.
Man, we should
I
have
mean, I
flag
wouldn't
here
want-
too.
So one this year,
I wouldn't
We
want
have
somebody
three
to be
seats.
told they can't have their,
Right.
nice.
Oh, yeah, he could have known that.
I
He
know.
was
That's
not
what
thinking
you're talking about.
Oh, no, I was thinking flag. Trying to keep the business in the spoils.
So that's true. I think that the,
So we
excess,
want to
I
look
mean, I'm all in favor of more characterization, in excess of just the weight.
So how about getting rid of that comma after gross vehicle weight? So would it read, vehicle in excess of 12,000 pounds gross vehicle weight and in excess of 2 axles?
Removing the comma doesn't change the meaning. You've got 4 categories.
I would actually, I would say comma was better.
You've got
I
4
like it.
categories.
All right, that's why I'm the engineer, I
Say it.
do this.
No, the comma separates in excess of 2 axles. Changing it doesn't change anything.
But I was thinking you have a list of
You've got-
things.
You've got 4 categories here. You've got over 12,000, under 12,000, and you've got 2 axles and less, or fewer, and more than 2 axles. You've got 4 different categories. This eliminates one of them only.
If you,
This eliminates the weight and in excess of 2 axles.
All right,
If
so
you've got 2 axles, you're okay,
How do
and
you-
you're under 12,000 pounds, you're okay.
how do you make it so that it's 4 categories? So you say it has to be in excess of, or it has to be, your vehicles that you park overnight have to be less than 12,000 pounds, and your vehicles that you park overnight have to have less than 3 axles. You know, either case
That's-
exclusive,
Oh, okay.
you know, so, I mean,
Then you need to separate, you need to separate it out.
so it's like a list of things you can't have.
So you can never have a vehicle with more than 2 axles.
You know, that's a rough one, but I mean, that's what they're saying.
I don't
It's like
know.
an RV.
Right, but like a trailer will have, some trailers have dual axles. But the vehicle is the trailer, not the trailer attached to the
Right.
pickup truck. So if you have a trailer with a boat, a big boat, and you've got
It's
a
like
dual
6
axle,
Yeah.
well,
Okay, then you've got, so you've
But I
got,
don't
you've
know.
got a car with a boat in tow, towing with 4 axles. Does that count as the
They have
vehicle?
to move out of
right, the
town.
vehicle is the car, and there's another vehicle, because they have to license the trailer.
Oh, so they
Two
can
vehicles.
It's 2 vehicles, because you're paying,
As opposed to a cab with the
with the trailer.
trailers. And then goes together, that's not the same thing.
right. Well, right now, that's how
They're
it's
both
getting
registered.
weighted.
When's the deadline for the wording on this?
Well, that's the thing, is that
It
we're
doesn't
gonna,
matter, we can bring it to.
right now, so let's work on the wording, if you could work on the wording and
Yeah,
come up with
I mean-
something. It doesn't have to be right now.
Yeah.
But we want to schedule a public hearing for this. And we can't do it at our next meeting because that's in 2 weeks, so it's going to be the first meeting in October, which is the 11th, I think.
And we still work on the wording after the public hearing, that's the idea of the public hearing.
Well, not if it's going to change, we want to have, we can, a little,
Yeah,
but we can't significantly change the wording. So we can't say
yeah.
over 12,000 is not allowed, and any kind of axles
Yeah.
are allowed. But if we change and then limit the number of axles, and we didn't notice that in the public notice,
Yeah.
a reasonable person reading this would say, oh, I've got a 3-axle trailer, whatever, if it even exists, I don't even know. I've got a 3-axle trailer, this isn't gonna impact me, I'm all right. He doesn't have to go to public hearing, but we wanna have it written so that it's at least stringent enough so that if they do have a concern, they will step up.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so we're actually not gonna have the 2 exclusive cases.
I don't know, we can have it worded any way we
That's
want.
what we want.
Okay,
Well, I'm not clear on what type of vehicles we're including or excluding,
Well, that's what we're waiting
given
for.
the weight and given the axles.
But
Given our goal of not wanting to
And then-
restrict people that are.
and then just to muddy this a little bit more, they continue on to define, for the purpose of this section of the bylaw, the definition of a gross vehicle weight is the maximum operating weight of mass of a vehicle as specified by the manufacturer, including the vehicle's chassis, body, engine fluids, fuel, accessories, driver, passengers, and cargo, but excluding that of any trailers.
Where a trailer could
excluding
be
trailers.
not just something you tow, but the trailer that gets hooked onto the cab.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I don't think that's correct, because our tractors are rated for the full weight of the tractor and trailer, because you can't have a tractor, the brakes and everything in the tractor have to be rated to stop the trailer too, you know, and pull the
But you're not
trailer.
parking the trailer at the property.
Well, okay, then, I mean, I was sort of going for a purity of the definition of gross vehicle weight. And I don't think the gross vehicle weight does not include the trailer, is what I was getting.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Right. But most likely, from what, we haven't looked at this, so what he said is a cab for a trailer truck
Mm-hmm.
will trigger that 12,000 pounds if you fill the tanks with fuel. The way that it was gotten around, I guess, in the past was he went in there with almost empty tanks, no,
Oh, then he
anything,
weighed it,
everything,
he weighed it.
so his
Okay,
weight was
okay.
just under the 18,000
Okay,
pounds.
okay,
So that's why the 18,000 was not the best trigger. So
okay.
the intent was good, and now we're just dealing with the details, so I don't want to get hung up on another detail that we miss.
How much of this is new?
That's what I didn't check.
Okay.
I think the whole,
Gotta check.
That'd be interesting to know what actually changed in this, this section.
Right. So it's in our bylaw, we can look
Yeah.
at that. So why don't we try to, can we schedule the public hearing for October, whatever it is, 7 o'clock? Or do we
What
have?
are we
a-
doing, the 25th, the 11th?
No, it has to be before the town meeting,
When is your town meeting? I have,
the
So-
second, third
So
Monday,
you want one for October 11th?
The third Monday.
third Monday,
Oh, no, 16th. Yes.
so it's
third
the
Monday.
16th, I guess.
Yes.
Can we have a
Am I not
public
right
hearing
on
that
your
close to town meeting?
Yes.
We can?
Yeah, as long as it's before town meeting, that's all that matters.
They took that definition, it's, Google, is
Oh, is that
exactly
what it
what
says?
Google says, yeah.
All right,
It's the
and
same wording.
excluding that of the trailer?
It's actually Wikipedia,
And it says excluding that of the trailer?
yeah, from Wikipedia, for what that's worth.
that works.
The
So
other
we just
thing-
need to work on,
Yeah. We should also research other
I was
places
just
to
gonna say
buy
other
those.
towns, they brought in what, Shrewsbury and
Yeah, they
Bolton?
did, I think it was
Or
a,
Northborough or something.
yeah, Shrewsbury.
Shrewsbury was one, I think Holden was the other.
yeah, I think it was.
So one of them was 15 and one of them was 10.
14,
Yeah, 14 and 10, something like that.
Okay.
And see what.
Did they-
Does someone want to do that?
I'll check that out.
Excellent, thank you.
So have to be advertised once for a hearing for this, because there's a,
I think it's twice. It's like a,
like a. Oh, was that the thing you sent me?
I don't know that. No, it was my copy. It talks about what the advertising has to be
Trying to
done.
be like,
Yeah, the gross vehicle weight, if we go back to our minutes,
It's
the
what?
gross vehicle weight for Holden is
Sent it, but I
10,000
didn't read it.
pounds, and Shrewsbury is 14,000
I
pounds.
never even send it, come on.
But I'm interested in seeing what else what their other words.
This is
Right, it could be
covered.
different.
Yeah.
This is all we can.
That's, it's a state law, it's very old. It's like 15 years old, but they haven't changed it.
Well, you kind of gotta see the picture.
Right.
They haven't changed
What is
it.
it, the guide to?
It's how a building was
Change
lost.
10 times.
It came from DHCD
Okay.
15 years ago, but they haven't
Do you
changed
want to have
it.
a writing hearing notice
It's
for it,
THC,
or
right?
things to specify what it,
They took the picture from 1955.
They did.
it looks like someone.
Well, but that was the, you worried about the picture. Who's in charge of this board? Come on, let's get this board running right.
Well, I'll need some help with
If
writing.
you're
that
putting out
notice.
stuff like that,
Go
we
back
might
and
make
make
you
sure
not
I
in
get
charge
it
of
paper
this
at the
board.
right time. What did she
Okay,
say?
When is it?
okay.
I said, if you're gonna bring out stuff like that, we might
When
make
is
you
it-
not in
when-
charge of this
When
board.
is it due in the paper? Was the deadline for publishing?
Well, that's what I have to find out if it goes on Wednesdays, I just have to, I have to telegram, I know what days I get it and buy, but this one has to
In
be
other words,
advertised
is
for
it-
the 4th and the 11th, right?
I think it says that. I think
Yeah,
it's
but it is
Tuesday.
twice, that would be after the date.
I can send that back. I think
What
the
day?
first page says.
So my question
Which
is,
is the town meeting?
16.
can send it, but they don't read them.
Of October?
It's 2 weeks.
so my question is the deadline of publication after our next meeting?
Notice of the planning board hearing must be posted in the town hall at least 14 days before the hearing. Advertising in the newspaper.
No, before. So
The hearing must also be posted in the newspaper at least 14 days in advance of the day of the hearing.
It's before, the deadline is before the
It would
27th?
have to be, because I'd have to put the deadline in somewhere here in order for it to run on the 27th and the 4th, because the hearing meeting's on the 11th.
We have a
So
public
somewhere
hearing.
up here.
Vinnie, we have a public hearing
Wednesday,
on the
Monday,
28th,
Friday.
and Toby just posted it for the paper for the 14th and the 21st.
Okay, so it's
So it's
So-
2 weeks.
it's plus.
So if we were to look at
And
that.
advertising is gonna be done in 2 successive weeks.
Yeah, so we're doing it on the 27th and the 4th.
Right. So
I would really
if I come
leave it.
back with some new wording next meeting, that's too late. No.
You can bring stuff up at the public hearing too.
Yeah, you can bring it up to the public hearing, but
We have to
we
put
need
the
to
whole
It has to
article
be
in
close
the hearing
enough.
notice?
So this, you think this is close enough for the?
give it a
notice?
draft. No,
Yes, that's what we'll
give
discuss.
us a
Enough for
draft.
the notice, okay. Thank you.
Are we going to put this whole thing in the hearing notice? the
No,
article?
I will show you what we need.
All right.
We have a draft
That's fine,
somewhere. I know I've written one up pretty fast. That is the draft for the article at the town meeting,
So I just need to
but
buy
not for
this
the
weekend.
public notice.
Gotcha.
You can work with me for the weekend, get it out, to make sure we
That
can.
came from the DHCD.
Phrasing of the notice.
Sure. I don't have to do it right now.
I don't see the-
Well, you don't have to do it right now, but
No, but I need to prepare it by the end of the week, if I'm gonna, if this is already.
No, it's for the Attorney General.
I got it from the DHCD.
I think all our bylaws should be graphic novels.
Illustrated?
Yeah, we get a lot more reading
They
there.
look like this.
All right, so we have that. And then I've also heard that there's another article that we're gonna try
Yes.
to advertise and get done, but I haven't seen anything.
About?
I thought they asked you.
The sign bylaw stuff.
Oh, all right, here we go. Sign bylaw.
You're gonna have to write fast.
Section 5, change the pictures of, they want pictures and words, but not scrolling or flashing.
How about blinding electric signs? Like
Brightness.
Wilson Seafood.
And the pool store. Yeah, there's a brightness control, but I don't know how that's gonna work.
Which one?
There's already a
West
right.
Wilson Seafood.
We had,
It's very, very bright.
Yeah, there's
But
already,
that's okay, because when they came before us, that was their main concern.
no, there's a brightness standard.
there's a brightness
bylaw,
rule.
And I'm not sure how to measure it.
When we read it, it wasn't, I don't remember anything, because first he wanted to change the size of the sign. And we kind of hemmed and hawed about that, and finally he withdrew that. His main concern is that he could have the color.
Yes, so it was okay on the color, but then there's brightness of how bright it can be, and I think there's a state, I'm
No,
pretty
there's
sure
a state-
something
no,
in
no,
there.
That's just an observation.
But I don't know how
I
to
didn't
measure
go
it.
by with a light meter, but it's very bright.
Yes, I know.
So
it's
was in
that.
the one on the common too, so.
Well.
But the pool store one, when I pulled to the end of this road, when they first put in the pool store one, it was bright red.
Yeah.
Right there, it was very bright.
And it was scroll, and it was.
Well, I think sometimes they learn and figure it out too.
Right, it's better now.
One of the town commons is a black background with letters. The one at West Boston Seafood is a colorful or colored, a red or white background. And that's what makes it much brighter.
Right, because there's a lot of light bulbs on.
Or light bulbs on it.
Vinnie,
Yes.
section 569D.
A light frame sign should be so maintained, low level intensity.
Is that what
There's
you're talking
something with
about?
nits or something like that we didn't know what to do.
It's gotta be something.
How do you,
Nits.
is that what you're looking for, Vinnie?
Lumens.
Oh,
Vinnie, is that
nits?
what you're looking
I
for?
thought we were nits.
I have no idea. I know I thought there was something in there, but we can look that up.
About the specific lumens?
Illumination? Yeah.
It's probably. a
Page
better-
76. At the very bottom.
Right, no, we're looking for an actual number, because I
Yeah,
thought
the number.
there was something in there that
There-
talked
I
about
don't
the
think there
number.
was ever a number.
I don't think there ever was a number.
No, there was never a number. It just says, "The light of any sign shall be so maintained at a sufficiently low level of intensity and brightness that it shall not adversely affect the neighboring premises or the safe vision of operators or vehicles moving on public ways."
Yes.
So there was never any
Change your color.
specificness about how bright or how dim it could be. It just says, sufficiently low level.
When I had looked up the area towns, I had come in with some paperwork about the lumens.
There you go.
So page 84, he's on top of it.
Oh, yes.
Brightness, article, item 3.
And what's the word?
Nits, you
There you
got
go.
it.
It's nits?
It's in nits, whatever that is.
Right, exactly.
The maximum luminance level for digital display signs shall not exceed 350 nits from sunset to sunrise, and 6,000 nits from sunrise to sunset.
The thing is,
You're gonna have to go measure some nits.
yeah, the thing is, you have to hire someone to measure
And where
that.
do you measure that?
And is it worth it for the town?
Right,
Don't-
the
Why
guys-
is it- Vinny,
I think
why-
we just talk to him, he's a nice enough guy, you just
Yeah.
talk to him and say, yeah, we got some people saying it's pretty bright, can you turn it down? And usually there's some way to do that.
Why isn't that part of the illumination? Because now the illumination and this are kind of like contradicting each other.
I think it's
I mean, even
because,
though you're saying that this is more specific, it seems like this should be part of the illumination.
Yeah, I think that was like, when we were talking before about a number of the things in the sign bylaw that we need to.
Well, I know there was a big,
but I think there's two different there's like the lights on the sign that are someplace else. And then this is talking about the emission of the changeable copy, whatever.
but
panel.
basically, if you read the other thing, it's basically saying almost something
It's the
totally
same thing.
different. It's
No, it
saying-
doesn't say something different, it's actually, it says something similar, but this one gives a definition to the
What I'm
numbers.
saying though is that this should be incorporated into the other one, so that it's one, so you don't have to go looking for two different things.
Is it separated by number of pages, you mean?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
That's probably a holdover from the fact that illumination used to cover all the signs because they didn't have their own light, you know, which was whatever the panel itself.
Get the light on, shining on the sign.
Yeah, the light shining on the signs or the backlit, you know, or something like that that comes on and off with the day.
Right.
Do we think that that specific nit number is
Well, there's
for
a unit. to
illuminated
it.
signs, or is that meant for the lights that shine on a regular sign?
CD per meter square. All right.
Good question.
Yeah, I mean, I don't
I
know.
have no idea what it is. I mean, it was something that we got from
I think it's
a
on
model guidance, but I don't know how bright it is.
I mean,
Yeah.
and to your other,
how are we gonna find that out?
I don't
You have
know
to
that
hire
that's,
somebody.
but that's, we have two situations, or two locations, and if there's different places in the bylaw that apply to something, you have to comply with both. So we can either get into the push-pull of, okay, you have to get it measured for 300, show us that it's less than 350 nits, or we can just say, well, we want it to be sufficiently low, it's not gonna adversely affect neighboring premises or the safe vision of operators of vehicles moving on public ways. So we just talk to him and say, can you do it? If he comes back and says, fry ice, you guys are on your own, then we have to get the measurements and the tools out and get it done. But I'd rather do it
Yeah,
in a friendly way.
yeah, I think it was too bright personally, but,
I don't know.
you know. But it depends on what they have displayed on the sign.
right,
Well, sometimes
if
it's
you want
not
some
bright.
clean sugar, it's not bright enough.
Well.
There's lobster bits,
The clam chowder is pretty good.
scallops.
Yeah.
All right, so back to the real issue on the signs is what do we want to amend? What
Well, we gotta-
section?
I have written down section 5, but I don't know if that's all of it.
Temporary signs? No. This is the changeable copy signs, or is this?
Yes, well, the changeable, what's the number of the changeable copy section there?
It's number 3. So D3,
Okay. They want to change, they want to allow pictures, add that you can have pictures in it, not just text,
Unchangeable copy?
unchangeable copy, but they can't scroll or flash, but you can have a picture of like a pumpkin or something like that.
Like, not like a TV screen, but rather with the bulbs that they currently have.
Is what?
oh, there it is, okay.
I mean, how great a picture could you make with those signs?
Oh,
Well,
we
I-
always go back to Hadley's sign, and, because that's a sign everybody kind of has, is something similar to that. But he's in Worcester,
And the north end
North End Motors,
motors.
Oh.
which is across from
Yes.
99.
Yeah.
And he's got everything going on there. I mean, it's not a TV screen, but I mean, like, he's got like snow falling for transitions,
Oh,
and he's
okay.
got a
so
car.
does the
he's got-
school.
And the people
School.
didn't want that.
Right, people don't want that in town, but apparently people are leaning towards like, I think it might be, I suppose the Seafoods wants to be able to have a picture of
Little scallop.
or a fish or something, you know?
But on the existing sign they have, it's gonna look like a blob.
All right, let's
Oh,
hold,
yeah,
right?
you don't think you'll have the
Well,
ground, the
okay,
resolution?
let's hold on here. We're going to amend section 5.6,
Okay.
D3, 1,
Is that D3 and D1?
No, it's all the same, keep going.
5.6 D3 1.
D3, 1E, and then little Roman numeral V, 5. How's that?
D, oh, 3, 1, E, 5.
Text only.
V5?
So it says text only. The digital display is restricted to text messages and therefore should consist only of alphanumeric characters and special characters found on a typical keyboard. So that's where we have to change it.
Okay, so that's the picture one. Okay.
So you can't use asterisks for, moving asterisks for snow?
No moving. It's separate.
No, they wanted to,
Transitions are above that.
they were talking about transitions, they were saying to eliminate the transition thing, but still have no graphics that can change because, you know, you can't swipe in, but you can have, they were thinking that the way the transitions,
Well, there's the first page on 83, this digital display signs in E1 is a duration. The full digital image or portion thereof may change, but no portion of the image may scroll, twirl, change color, imitate movement in any manner, or meet the characteristics of a flashing sign.
Oh, okay.
And that's what we just changed a year ago,
Okay.
May 2016. The transition, where the digital display sign or any portion thereof changes, the change sequence shall be accomplished by means of nearly instantaneous repixelization, less than 1 second. Messages shall not fade in or fade out, or have the appearance of dissolving. And then it's that great brightness one. Sequential messaging is prohibited. All electronic display frames shall be complete messages and shall not require or induce drivers to watch a sign for several seconds.
Right.
And then this one, text only. The digital display is restricted to text messages and therefore should only consist of alphanumeric characters.
do you think that the transition one,
So do we want to just delete item 5?
no, I think we have to limit it to non-moving images we already have.
We
No,
already
but
have
we
it.
already have that. Yeah, if you delete
Okay.
5, then
So we
You
delete.
think we
So
can delete
can you-
transitions too?
you
You
can
can
have
draw-
emojis.
You can draw somebody's face with backslashes and asterisks and lines. Is that what we want to prohibit?
No.
No.
It's
We want
like,
to, actually, we want to prohibit bad art, absolutely. It has to be good art on the signs.
Yeah,
but basically, we're not saying text only anymore, so we don't need this section.
give me what the emojis are.
So we can scratch section 5.
It's 516, whatever.
Well, it's the,
Why-
Type
why-
one says
why-
little,
why-
private,
Because
easy.
we can have more than just
the
text.
little
Yeah.
Roman numeral V.
E,
So the proposal is to delete
Why are we
that.
eliminating that?
because we're gonna allow more than just text.
How about the transitions one? I think we can, it sounds like we can scale the transitions.
Scallop with
Because
Because it's
Scallop.
covered by the.
Yeah, I think it's clear and
Asset tax.
Well, maybe somebody else will come up.
is the transition causing a problem with anybody?
Well, they mentioned eliminate.
Why?
Oh,
For
Because
what? What are you talking
it just clarifies that we don't want it to fade or dissolve.
okay.
It says here we don't want it to fade or dissolve, so it's still saying the same thing, there's no conflict.
It's a solid,
It just
it's a
clarifies
solid
that
picture.
we want it to change to another picture or another text.
Okay, and then we're sort of emphasizing that we don't want to, okay, I mean, it's just, I don't know, for some reason I have on my notes, transition to eliminate.
Right.
And then brightness we have to talk about, or figure out how to.
Brightness, we have this, but I don't know.
We have to control it or. and-
Why did someone at your meeting say something was too bright? Or
Yeah, just that it was,
The same, but not him, it was somebody else, so it's not.
no,
just-
somebody else, it was,
Don't give names. to
it
one
was
thing.
Santa and John Hancock.
All right, sounds good.
Was it more than one person?
Yeah, a couple people, well, there, you know, one person brought up one side, one person brought up another, and then, you know, sort of an agreement that sometimes they're way too bright.
Yeah, and sometimes they're not. So that's the hard part, when they make the new sign,
Well,
if they make it like a bright blue background, that's the one that I saw in the seafood place. It was bright blue background, and it was too bright, and other times I've seen it
yes,
fine.
yeah,
So
right,
it's
yeah.
how they color it,
Right.
I guess. It's tough to get it right every
Bright
time.
blue. I mean, it's a bright blue. I don't know if it's because the illuminants or it's just the.
It's the light of the sign, that's why you have the
You mean the
measurement.
nits?
So it's a certain amount.
At my school, you get lights in your hair.
Yes, right.
If you change this bylaw, everybody that has a digital sign now is grandfathered, right?
Well, except we're getting more open.
I
Yeah,
guess
it's
they,
over
yeah, we're allowing more, so they're.
No, but I mean, if you, like, you say fading out and, you know, that, you know, like I said, when West Boylston Seafood came, their biggest thing is about the color. You know, they wanted to make sure that they could get the color.
And they.
So they dropped their thing about the size of the sign, as long as they got color. So now, if you're gonna change that,
We're not.
okay,
Nope, the only thing we're gonna change, that's why I wanted to keep it simple. Scratch that it can be text only. That's all we're saying.
But they can do color now.
They can do color right now anyway.
Yeah.
Right.
So I don't think that
Okay.
the only thing that people might get upset about is if they bought a sign that couldn't do graphics. Because they thought that they couldn't do graphics and now they can.
Right. But when I drive by Cumberland Farms on those way oversized price
Letters.
things, it's got a picture of a milk carton. I saw that as I was going to practice yesterday.
Cumberland Farms in West Boylston?
Yeah,
I don't think so.
you couldn't miss it on those giant size signs.
Oh,
The ones with the
gosh.
numbers?
Yeah, the prices.
I thought that they were just letters and numbers.
No,
We don't want,
I'll be right back. I'm gonna go on a field trip and go look for the milk carton.
Yeah, we did that.
You want
Not
more
yet.
coffees?
99-cent Diet Coke.
All right, so we're gonna put that on for the public hearing at 7:05 after the,
That's a double charge? No, no,
no,
no.
after the, what we just did, the vehicle weight change.
So we're gonna have that on for 7 o'clock, or have this one at 7:05?
Yeah.
Maybe we should say 7:10, just in case we want to discuss it.
Well, we can, I mean, as long as we don't start it before
Oh,
the
yeah,
time.
okay. Oh, yeah, 7:05. No, 7:05 is good.
And then when people only interested in the second one don't have to sit around for half an
Just
hour.
finish
Waiting for it to
this.
start.
What was the other, any part, eliminate that section?
Yeah.
Eliminate
That was it?
section
Eliminate
5.
the text only.
That's why I wanted to keep it simple, just
Okay.
eliminate it.
Okay.
And what was the reference I gave you? It was 3 point,
5.6 on D,
Five,
3.1 from E.
3.1.
hold on, I can, one at a time, it's like a.
5.6 D
Pike.
3.1 E V.
The V's are Roman numerals.
Jesus.
Yeah, I didn't do the lettering on this one, but it's clear now.
Long way to get
I
there.
think we should start using symbols. Like it'll start 5.6 fish, starfish.
Emojis.
Emojis in there.
All right,
We should change
next
the,
on the agenda is,
the traffic code section.
That's right.
we have a disruptive member.
I think we have 2.
Well, then you would never quorum.
All right, so we have on our warrant articles are covered.
Oh, wait, there was one other one they were gonna bring up, I don't know if they did. They were talking about a blight bylaw.
Blight?
Blight.
No, we need to see wording on that. I have no idea what they want.
Well, right, it's a bylaw that would,
Cars with no wheels on cinder
Right.
blocks and hoarding.
dumpsters that are always in the
Yeah,
yard.
full, yeah.
There's a nuisance
Really?
requirement in state code. If it's a nuisance, that
There was-
usually is the
There
block.
was an example that they gave, but I don't remember what it was.
All right.
I don't know if it's
Yeah, it was my
imperative.
house, my house.
I don't know if it's imperative.
Well, no, if we're doing
Alright,
two,
so-
that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, but I mean, if we can do that one another time. but-
And everybody remember that there is a time limit from when they ask you to do a bylaw to when you have to have your,
I'm sure.
well, I got yelled at for it.
I know.
So we better hurry.
We have to do it right, right?
Well, you don't have to do it right, you have to do it in the right time.
Yes, okay. Review of correspondence and emails. The only thing to bring up on that I have is, I got an email about a property that has, it's a property, single residence property. It's undersized. It doesn't meet the current zoning requirement of 40,000 square feet. But they want to sell off most of the property except for a little piece in the back. And so they were asking whether they could do that. And my reply was that it's a zoning issue, that the building inspector is the one that would make that decision. But what I thought was, they could sell anything they want. Whether you want to buy something that's not complete is another story. But I don't know that they can make an existing non-conforming lot more non-conforming. without getting some permit from the ZBA.
You can't do anything with a non-conforming lot.
Well,
As soon as you do, then you have to follow the current bylaws.
well, you have to
It's
follow,
already non-conforming.
Are they gonna build something on it?
no, it's an existing house, they're just selling the house and wanna, I'm not sure, they didn't say, the attorney didn't say why they didn't wanna transfer the whole portion, they only wanted to do 3/4 of it. It's currently owned by the same property owners, so it's not like
Can
it's
you
a separate.
access the other piece?
No, it's a 3,000 square foot area, or 4,000 square.
With no
foot.
frontage?
With no frontage, so it's just backland, and I think they may want to give it to a neighbor that they like, or, I don't know, whatever it might be. But in our section on page 3 in the bylaws, 1.4, nonconformity, change to nonconforming uses. And it defines in here that a nonconforming lot is a nonconforming use. The Board of Appeals shall hear and decide upon application for special permits for extension, change, or alteration of nonconforming structures or uses as provided under Chapter 6, Section 40A of the general law. Special permits granted thereunder may be granted only in those cases where a finding is made that such a change, extension, or alteration shall not be substantially more detriment to the neighborhood than the existing use. So that's kind of what I said, you can go to the ZBA for a special permit. Non-conforming structures shall include structures that are otherwise conforming but are located on non-conforming lots. So it's
So that's
the
what-
non-conforming lots ties it into it.
So they're not looking to change the structure.
Is there a structure on there?
When a reconstruction, extension, alteration, or structural change to a single or two-family residential non-conforming structure may be permitted by the building inspector, permitted under 1.4D.
Is there a building back there?
There is no building on that, no. It was just backland, they said, I think they said like behind the pool or something like that.
So it just makes the lot smaller,
So,
and it's already too small.
so such change is not,
Oh,
the
yeah.
building inspector may determine that reconstruction of a non-conforming structure does not increase the non-conformity when it doesn't change, it does not intensify the structure's existing non-conformities or result in additional ones. And it retains the existing footprint, does not increase the envelope of that structure. The envelope of a structure shall be the existing outer surfaces of the structure. So, depending on the way you read it, it could be.
That's all structure.
That's all.
I read that as structure, but it says non-conforming structures shall include structures located on non-conforming lots.
If it's
So
making.
if
a
you're
lot
not
of
changing the
sense,
footprint of the existing structure, well,
I read it as being, if you've got a non-conforming lot and you want to make it smaller, you need to go to the ZBA. And that's,
Oh, how-
yes, that's probably
What's the
true.
size of the lot right now? Like less than half an acre or something?
yeah, it needs 40,000, it's got about a half an acre.
And he
So
wants
it's
to make
about
it a little
30,000. Yeah, it's got about 30,000, and I don't remember the numbers, let's say it's 33,000, it wants to go down to 30,000.
Is it to give the neighbor a little corner?
So it doesn't matter what the reason for, it's
So there is an existing house on that property.
existing house, no new house is gonna get
Okay,
built,
when was the house built?
1950s.
See, the zoning was different then, so that's grandfathered now. I know you hate that word, I do too, but it is.
Well, it is, right?
No, it's not granted because currently the
No, they're
owner
changing it.
owns both properties. So under the,
What do you quote?
check, the parcel that's in back, the 3,000 square foot
It's
parcel,
currently separate?
it's somewhere in the deed. On the assessors, it shows one single parcel.
Yeah.
Somewhere in their deed, they've got a little bit of a 3,000 parcel and then the rest of the lot.
Okay.
And it's both in the same name. So under what I thought was the state law, it automatically goes to one lot, it gets joined together. It may have come from two separate lots and two separate deeds, but because it's owned by the same person, and it still doesn't meet the zoning requirement,
But don't they get a one-time, they can separate it back out? Hasn't somebody else come?
within 3 years of the zoning change.
No. So that
And it
was,
hasn't been within 3 years of the zoning change.
I mean, like, if they came in, I'm just thinking if they came in, just annexed their property to take a little sliver off the side of it, we would look at them and say, why, okay, you can do this, but you can't do anything with that piece of property.
Right, we would allow it, we would sign it as an A&R, which I think they're gonna have to go through that process anyway.
But they could just do
But
that and
they-
not do anything else.
But no, well, they could do that, but then it's recorded as a separate lot, which doesn't really matter. But once they wanna give it or sell it to somebody else, I think they need ZBA approval. You can divide up your lot any way you want and have the planning board
Just
sign
do it, not
off
sign
on it.
anything.
Because we've done it, we've signed things that then it never goes anywhere. People don't divide it off for their son or,
Yeah.
even though they plan it. So we can sign off on those things. That doesn't make it a buildable lot. That's why we have that little note on the signature.
Right.
It says it doesn't make it a buildable lot.
I mean, in theory, the only thing that that little sliver is useful for is for the abutting property could buy it and soak it up.
Yes.
That's the only thing it's useful
And they could expand the structure on that property.
on that property because they
could
have more property.
Now, because now the lot, the property line is smaller. Right.
That's the
Right,
only
but-
thing that it's useful for.
But that's, yes, but that's not before us. Whether, how it gets used
Exactly.
or what it
So I
does.
would say, don't do anything except write up your A&R, come in, we'll sign it, and then you can go do whatever you want with it.
Right, but that's where we need to get the building inspector, because he's the zoning enforcement person. He needs to review this, and he may know this already, and he's very familiar with it. And he may just need to tell them, under this, you just need to go to the ZBA. It can be done, you need to go to the
Oh,
ZBA.
ZBA.
That's, the Board of Appeals shall hear and decide upon application for a special permit. So it's,
Yeah, but if you already approve an A&R, they don't need to come to us. Because you're approving the A&R to split that property.
we can split the property, that doesn't mean that the person buying it, well, I don't know.
I mean, if all they want to do is split the property, they can.
It's
split the
similar to
property.
that,
Right.
well,
But
Because
the
like you
trouble,
said,
the
it's
thing
on
that I see
premise,
is
so
it's
they're
making
doing
it more non-conforming. So if you're
Right.
making a non-conforming lot more non-conforming, you need a ZBA.
Actually, if that's the case, I would get like some sort of plot plan and make sure nothing it's not that they're taking, like their house is 10 feet from the edge of the property and they're giving away or separating out that 10 feet, so now their house is on the lot line. I would say you can't do that because that's making this way more non-conforming.
Right.
But if there's nothing
Well,
out
but
there,
let's
you know,
stick with that. If they did that and came before us with an A&R, with a new lot line, did both of those lots, even though it's coming in within 10 feet of the property, of the building, if they came in with an A&R,
We would
they got
do it.
enough frontage
We do it.
there, enough frontage there, we would have to sign the A&R, even though it doesn't meet the zoning. And then they would have to go to the ZBA to get that non-conformance.
the only way we
A&R
address that is if we
plus
ask the
the
question.
ZBA?
What's that?
I don't understand how.
No, they would have to take a plan and present the plan to the ZBA and
But not-
request a special permit.
Instead of an A&R plan.
It could,
It's kind of like the
separate
Big Daddy
different
thing,
A&R.
where they came before you to say, we're making whatever it was, 12 condos, which is not worse than the hotel, even though neither is allowed. We're not making it worse, so that's why, and we need a ruling.
yeah, but
I mean,
they were
that's the same
changing,
thing.
but they were also
It's the same
changing,
rule.
but they were also changing the structure,
Right.
the use. It was going from a
Oh,
motel.
no, it's a different situation, but it's the same rule that they were applying. They're saying, we're doing something that's making this hotel, which is non-conforming, into way too dense condos, which is also non-conforming, but less non-conforming than the hotel. It's sort of like this judgment call that you guys would have to make.
Okay, well, see, what I don't understand is if they come to the planning board and you guys issue them an A&R, then that's fine. I don't see why they would need to come to us.
The only reason they would have to is if we caught it. If
No.
we said, this
No,
this
it
is
doesn't matter
this is
whether we catch it.
non-conforming.
No, the only reason that one, still the one that you're talking about with the reduction in frontage, that was done as an A&R decision to reduce the frontage. It had nothing to do with the lot area and the lot size and all the other things. That's when the A&R made it final, basically. This has nothing to do with frontage requirements. This is all about area, and area is not a standard that gets applied to the A&R review process.
But doesn't, okay, even for non-conforming, okay, now we're saying it's non-conforming, but doesn't that go back to when the house was originally built? And it goes back to what the zoning what the bylaw was, which you could have, you know,
No.
and so now
No,
it's true.
No, it doesn't. Not that portion. It's when you change the zoning, the property owners, when the zoning gets changed, let's say you have a big parcel, and the zoning was a quarter of that. So you can take that big parcel and divide it up into 4 pieces. then the zoning changes so that the zoning, minimum zoning now is the whole parcel. So you only get one lot. So you used to have 4, now you only have 1 under the new zoning. State law allows you, and I think it's 3 years, to divide those
Usually.
big lots into smaller lots, change the ownership to being different names on the owners. So it could be the same people, but it could be Mark Frieden and his wife, Mark Frieden's wife on the 3rd lot, and then the kids on different lots. And that's called checkerboarding the lots, so you protect the zoning within the 3-year time frame of the zoning change. This zoning change was done many years ago, so unless they did that checkerboarding back at that time, that's where they get the grandfather.
Okay, I guess that's where I'm confused, because I'm thinking that if there's an existing house and the house has been there for 50 years,
Yeah.
okay, then whatever the zoning, whatever the zoning was back in 1950 applies. Now, all
Yes,
they do.
no, stop right there, you're absolutely right.
Well, that's mine.
That does
I have a
apply.
third of an acre and I bought it
Right.
in 2000.
Okay,
Right,
so
so he's
now,
not-
all he's trying to do is he wants to get rid of 3,000 square feet of property, okay?
The only problem is doing it now where the zoning is different.
Right.
So it looks
That's
to me,
okay.
I would respond by saying the building inspector may determine that reconstruction, extension, alteration, or structural change to a single or two-family residential non-conforming structure does not increase the non-conforming nature of said structure when blah, blah, blah. It almost seems like I would have the people go to the building
Building, that's
inspector.
where it's in.
Right, first, and then let him determine it, and if he determines it, then they need to go to zoning board of appeals.
Yes, and it's, like I said, it's his,
No,
Yeah.
it's his
So
call.
it's kind of like, it's
it's
his,
the
it's
ZBA's
his,
call.
No,
it's
the
his
building
call
inspector
first,
is
and then the
I'm
ZBA.
sorry, you're right. That's
No,
right.
you're right, it's the
Well,
building
no, I said it
inspector.
wrong just now, but it's the building inspector's call.
Because the building inspector might say, this is okay, you can do it with an A&R, or he might say, no, go get a special permit because you're making it worse.
And then so we'll hear
But it's
from
his
him.
call.
Well, no,
No?
So in other
It's
words,
his, it's
they're
his,
gonna have to do an A&R no matter what, if they.
Oh, yeah, but you either need to just do the A&R or get a special permit to allow the A&R.
Yes.
right, so we'll find out.
can they still get an A&R if they come to the ZBA and the ZBA disapprove their special permit?
It's actually,
If
they
it's
can.
required, they probably would go to ZBA first,
Right.
and then get the approval, and then pay to get the A&R plan drawn up.
No, but if they disallow it,
If
he
they don't
could
allow
still
it,
come
then,
and see us.
well, he could, but it wouldn't do him any good, it's not,
Right.
But we
We're-
don't know.
And we never
You've done
there.
that in the past.
We've signed those.
oh, we would sign it, we're required to sign an A&R if it's got frontage and access.
So we'd have to look
So
at
it has frontage, and the lot has access.
Okay, but the one that you just did.
That was,
Okay.
get off that one, that was one
That's gonna be on my to-do.
decision, right, it's gonna be.
that.
But forget that one.
Yeah, they've done that, done the rest of us over there.
So that,
I say just go to the planning board, get an A&R and forget about it. And it's done.
Well,
It's
no, the
done
building
deal.
inspector is where.
the building
it has to
inspector's
go.
where they go.
And he'll probably say that too.
So that's the status on that. So that was the correspondence that
Okay.
Okay, thank
was,
you.
Was I supposed to be taking notes?
no, it's way too long.
Why, what's on Facebook?
The other thing we got was the questions on a butter notice for Briarwood. Multiple emails.
Did I see any? I didn't see any.
No, it was,
Okay.
who do we notify? We know we need to notify the butters, but do we need to notify
Everybody in Briarwood.
everybody in West Boylston, or everybody in West Boylston and in Worcester that's within 100 feet or whatever, 300 feet or 100 feet?
300.
And then,
So we told them that they need to notify, the requirement is you have to notify the abutters, which are, I think, the abutters and the
It should be
abutters
Worcester
within
too.
100 feet. And I said it should be Worcester too. Well, they came back and said, well, that hits a condo association, and do we need to notify the condo association or all the individual owners of the properties in the condo association? And I,
Just the ones that are overlapped.
well, that's what I was thinking, is that it's just the ones when you go into the condo association, that 100-foot line, if that clicks or ticks on that condo unit, they should get notified.
Is
Is-
it like that?
And there's a condo association, yeah, right across at the intersection of Briarwood Drive and, which one's that?
Oh, because it's 100 feet of the whole property?
Well, that property extends into Worcester.
Yeah, but it's at the edge of that entire, whatever.
It's the property.
Acreage.
Oh, the one across the street?
Okay.
Yeah, across,
So it goes across the street,
Uh,
it goes into the industrial park, it goes, I mean, that.
yes, yeah, the industrial park is just one lot, that's
Yeah,
all.
I think it's whatever the,
So then it would
It's the
go
Yeah.
sidewalk
across.
of mass material research, I think it is.
so that's a lot of, the church,
Yeah,
But that's one site, it's a church. You notify the church, you don't have to notify every,
no, no, no.
every parishioner.
every bridge.
Yeah, yeah, you don't have to do that.
And then they ask whether they need
Sunday.
to do
Yeah.
their next question is, does it need to be certified return receipt? And there's nothing in the law that I read
I thought
that
that
says
was
that. No, you have to prove that you notified someone, so my response was basically, you're required to notify them. If someone comes in and says they didn't get notified, and you have no return receipt that says you tried, then we have to reschedule and redo the whole public hearing.
I don't think notifying the condo association is sufficient.
You know, okay.
I don't.
I'm glad someone's sticking to what we're saying.
They're-
Right, so it should be anyone
They're
who's.
not the property owners.
Right. So do you
And
think
and you're relying on someone else to distribute the message to the people who actually are the owners.
Which might be valid if they said, I told the condo association.
Yeah, yeah, and so do we want to do the condo association, all the units that are actually impacted or hit by that 100-foot zone?
If you're on the
Or
other side
every
of the-
condo association owner?
If your condo's not in the zone, then you should.
Yeah.
I would do the, I don't even know, why would you do the association?
Because the association owns the land, like the front lawn of the condo
okay.
gets hit.
So I would say you notify the association, that they're responsible to tell the people who aren't in the 100-foot buffer.
Well, no, we just notify the association and that's that.
Oh, no, I would
And-
do association
and-
and the actual lots that are in the, whatever you call it,
Right.
buffer.
Yes.
But everybody in the condo association is notified because when the motel, when Big Daddy, every unit got,
Some condo associations work and others don't.
okay, because he sent a certified letter to my wife. So I know my wife got one and I know everybody else in there got one.
But all you
Well,
would
that's
do
good.
with
Even though
them.
we have a condo association and we have trustees, every unit in that association.
But, yeah, but you're all probably
So
within
maybe-
100, 300 feet.
100, I think it is.
I think you're all, you might even all be within
Yeah, I
100
think
feet
you
of
might
the
all
property.
be.
So they might have been,
Right, right. I would say just the condos that are in that
Yes.
zone,
Right,
Yeah.
the
that makes sense.
association.
yeah,
I think that's where we.
He's not crossing into Worcester, is he?
yes.
Yes, this is in Worcester.
Okay, because it says here, no crossing of the border to Worcester. The,
In its construction.
Yeah, it's not, the building is
The
not for
construction.
sure in Worcester, but the lot is in Worcester.
It's not gonna be one of those where
The parking lot's okay.
the
but
site
the-
board was in Worcester, and
The building is in,
the parking lot was in West Boylston, we had to prove a
that's
special.
just down the road,
permit.
right? Yes. It's not like that.
Okay.
So we're gonna go with notify the association, only the condos that are affected within the 100-foot zone.
Yes.
Wait, what about the association? Yes or no?
Yes, on the association.
Yes, on the
Yeah,
association.
just those that are affected.
Can we talk about the new agenda format?
No,
Can we?
I think it's
I'm
lovely.
sure you can.
Yes, absolutely.
What's your comment?
It's lovely.
It's lovely.
You guys noticed, that's very nice.
Yeah.
Yep.
There is a template committee.
Are there other,
Yeah, well,
What?
I'm on.
why, I guess, well, no, this isn't the place.
is there any other correspondence?
Nope, that's,
Would you like to
No,
know
what
why this was done?
Yes.
Because I'm on the template committee, that's why, I'm just asking if you want to know.
Consistency.
What they
Report from other boards.
what they wanted was conformity. They wanted every board to be consistent as far as the format. And
Well, I'd like to ask the question, why? I would agree with the agendas, but I don't agree with the minutes because.
well, the thing is with the minutes, because I had an issue with the minutes because we're a quasi judicial board. And we have to have specific information in our minutes, especially when we have public hearings, because we can go to, we can be sued and go to court. And town council has to review, so they need to know who talked and what they said and, and all of that stuff. And so sometimes our minutes can be 13, 14 pages, And I said to them, they were like, well, I said, it's gonna, so basically what they said is, I think the most important thing is this part, okay?
On this,
It's only
right.
supposed to be a
And
summary
on
of
the
it.
minutes too, it should be, I think it's the heading is the most important. They said as far as the body of the minutes, you can, kind of adjust it to your
You
meeting.
have to.
Right. No,
But minutes
elected
are really only
board.
supposed to be a summary, they're not supposed to be like.
And the most important thing is that every agenda, and every
Still not listening.
minute has to have the town seal on it.
And I won't get.
That's the most important thing.
Yep.
I would think
And we
that's
do.
just too small.
Don't we?
I have a report from another.
Right, no, we're not there yet.
Oh,
We got a request for information yesterday. Regard to a project T-Mobile is proposing, which includes adding a generator to the existing leased space on Lawrence Street, at the cell tower there.
yeah.
Let me know if there are any zoning or building permit requirements for this type of project. This should go to the building inspector.
There's not already a generator?
Did they build that new tower over there?
New town.
The guy.
Oh, police, we haven't gotten any notice that it has, and I'd like to close that one too, but I'm not sure.
You don't know if it's even
I
built?
don't know.
Okay.
Is this one of
And
those?
we have an invitation to attend municipal training, Tuesday the 26th from 6:30 to 8, upstairs in the selectmen's room. Couplman and Page on public and private ways, navigating your way through the laws on highways and bylaws and municipal duties and liabilities. I think this would be a good one. Mark said he's going. I said I'll get there after soccer practice. If anyone else is interested, this is where we can bring up the old unknown ownership, old right-of-ways that
Yeah.
we get no tax for, that everybody's using.
I'm working till like 7 o'clock that night. So
I can't make it that night.
All right,
26th.
okay. no.
Isn't there an open meeting law?
We've got two things happening that night.
No, not if it's a training, you're allowed.
That's true.
There's an exemption for
Yeah, you
three
don't
members of the
know
board
that.
to show up at the same place.
Oh, wait, no, but this is for the,
Oh, this is a different one. Yes, there is an open meeting.
there's no meeting one in,
Yes.
sorry.
Oh,
Sorry,
it's
I
nice
thought
to
we
see
were
you.
coming.
Didn't you guys just say motion to adjourn?
No,
Not yet, but we're close. Next on the agenda is boards and
Yep.
committees.
Let's just see this last one that was in there, you want to discuss that?
Well, I thought that was just a list. Town Holden?
No, this one for, 22 Lee Street, moving on Thursday, 26.
Oh,
That's what we need to do.
So that's the one that's coming before
I
us.
thought you had it, didn't I?
I have one.
Oh, yeah, wait a minute.
You want that?
Peter Dumas.
Home occupancy.
There you go.
Home occupation. All right, someone's going for a permit for it. That's good.
Yeah, but the 22 Lee Street, they just have a garage.
Are they parking a large vehicle?
No.
And it's less than 200 square feet, so the building inspector said it's not a problem. They don't need to have a site plan review or anything.
He's got good penmanship, I like that.
All right, so it's a home occupation? Well, when's your hearing?
The 28th.
All right, so we're gonna meet before that. Why don't we, who's our ZBA appointee? Have them review it and draft a comment letter? Who does review of ZBA stuff?
Usually it's from the chair.
That's it.
Yeah, but they do a draft.
Is it Paul Fisher? Are you ZBA?
Did I send you a package of ZBA things? No.
No.
I was going to after the last meeting, and
Where am I?
I forgot that.
The other thing I am.
Oh, God, we'll never get another.
Then what?
Exactly.
All right, so we'll have that on our agenda for the next meeting.
Yeah, who's in the draft? We don't know.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh,
I will not.
he's learning.
ZBA,
I don't know what his
We would ZBA person.
Economical, space,
How about the person who's on the ZBA?
Member committee
no,
assignments.
we shouldn't be drafting it.
ZBA responsibility for reviewing
No, he
board
should.
minutes is Mark.
Ah, there it is.
Oh.
All right, I guess I'll write down on
Yep, draft that one. Do you have the old?
Can I do-
ones? We have something from years ago.
Wait,
It sucks to be word.
I need that one with the graphic novel.
There's not that detail.
Okay.
You can make one like that.
Right.
You got comments?
Right.
Draw pictures?
Graphic novel.
That would be good. All right,
Okay. There's no one to say now.
That was all I had.
so do we have any other
Oh, other boards?
Well, then I'll
Do you
give
need
you
other
that.
boards?
Give me that.
No, not yet.
other boards we're on that?
Yeah, I don't have it.
No.
Thank you.
No, I have another board.
You have another board?
I do.
Transportation?
Rich Ryden showed up.
Really?
Yeah.
Transportation,
Yeah,
excellent.
transportation. From CMR's piece that came by and talked about Route 140 corridor study. It was actually very interesting. And I have all this.
Wasn't that like 3 years ago?
No.
5 years ago?
He has an orange sheet here, listing of transportation-related acronyms. You'll read through that, I'm sure. But this is for you. This is, you know, it's Route 140 all the way through, from Westminster down through Shrewsbury that they're looking at. And they have some very detailed information in there about triangle, and
Nice.
about how many people turn left and right and go straight at every one of those intersections. Every single one. And they talked about how the funding would work and getting Mass DOT involved, and how if we want anything done at those intersections, improving the intersections or making them wider or taking land.
Does it have to be an intersection?
Roundabouts. What do you want to change?
When did
The
this? when did
little
this
S curve
occur?
down going into.
Oh, they talked about that too, yeah. Yeah.
Well, you do.
So,
So can you summarize it and say
When did this occur?
this meeting was on the
September
7th.
No, the study.
Don't study.
We've been working on it for a while, I guess.
Only because as somebody who lives
So
very
that's-
close there, I avoided Francis 140 because of all the construction on it. So I
Oh,
don't know.
down by the reservoir?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
It's dated.
that's an improvement.
It's terrible.
So
Right now.
basically,
Yeah.
we're talking like 2023 to get stuff done, if you propose it now. Because of the way the funding works, state funding.
It's a,
So if we want,
is a TIP project?
Yes.
Tip,
No.
it's a tip project.
Tip.
Yeah, TIP
Tip.
That's
project.
what it
It's
said.
not a NIT project, it's a tip.
No, no,
So,
no.
can you, this is for Route 12 and 120? The one,
140,
140.
140 all the way through town.
oh,
And that's where they put in the traffic measurement things. You know, those
The little
things
lines
across the road.
Automated traffic
Yeah.
count.
But there's lots and lots of data here. About the number of trucks, percentage of trucks, where's your turning.
Yeah, and
studies.
I guess the point that well, when we were looking at the open space and rec plan, our biggest issue was it's too narrow a road to have
Yes,
bicycle.
vehicles, bicycles, and walkers. So we really need to widen whatever the.
yes.
And then the other issue is that, like you said, the triangle. I thought there needed to be a study of what the best thing to do, because we have an old study from them from, I think, 2012, that wanted to make the road behind us, Franklin Street, one way. That was the last
Well,
idea.
there's lots of.
Yeah, but Rich is, Ryden is also doing the same study, right? He didn't talk about any on that?
Of what?
Oh, the CMRPC?
Yeah, CMRPC, same person. He is the one working on that, the triangle.
Okay.
Yes,
This
that's
is-
what I,
Yeah, and this is all, this can be federally, funded.
Right, I mean, we don't have the,
Yeah, but this one is not yet started. They haven't started anything.
is it,
no, that's me last year asking about the traffic study.
Right, that was the planning board's concerns about
Is it-
various intersections.
Right, and we had all that, but we really still haven't gotten much response from Rich, and did he say anything about doing that?
He knows the planning board is very interested in these things, obviously, since the
Yes.
letter was in there.
Yes.
Um,
Oh, this is part of the report?
What's that?
This is part of the report? This is the,
This is what he gave me to give to you,
oh, good.
so, or what, what's her name? I don't know, she must have stapled these together.
Town administrator?
oh, Anita?
Yeah.
Okay.
But, part of this is, as we mentioned, you've got to treat this as one thing.
Yes.
You can't make changes to here without
Yeah, effectively.
considering the whole
Exactly.
traffic flow.
I think the cemetery will be all right if we make changes.
Well, I suggested an overpass.
I think a rotary, a giant rotary.
Well, we suggested a roundabout, and one person's grown, but in
Yeah, 'cause
general, but those may work.
It would chew up every, a lot of
Maybe not.
people.
Depends. There's a lot of land here. Well,
Well,
Mid-Honey Farms parking lot. to the back and take the rest of it. But yeah, it could work, but you're right, you've got buildings here.
We could have it
here.
go around
No,
this way.
there is a very close building there.
Yeah,
Near the line.
There are, it's-
yeah, there were close
But
buildings, so.
there is a right of way there, so it's the idea of using the right of way, people have the buildings where the buildings are, but we need to make it safe as we get more and more traffic. We're required as a planning board to try to plan for safe transportation.
Part of the objections here, the pavement is rippled, and we've talked about that here.
Yeah.
The lanes are too narrow, they're 11 feet, and you should have at least 12.
said
So,
that?
what's that?
He said that?
Yeah. So, why are you shaking your head?
Because I just got something from ASHTO that said, some study talks about 11-foot lanes being a better width to reduce accidents. But,
That narrowing the lanes would reduce accidents?
yeah, there's less
Because people would be
confusion.
so scared they'd slam on the brakes.
Well, no, it's not, the 11-foot lanes there, I don't think are the problem, it's because the way they set the curves, as you come like out of,
Which intersection are you talking about?
coming in from Crescent Street, coming on to Route 12 South, that should be rounded back at the funeral home more, but for some reason they didn't,
Oh,
so you're
and
kind
the
of
curve
coming
sticks
out.
out?
Yeah, so you have to kind of go around,
Yes, that's true.
and you're getting bumped out into this traffic, so the 11-foot lane isn't the problem, it's the alignment of the turning radius.
The other thing I noticed here is this is a parking lot, so you feel like you could, you can drive there, but there is curbing all the way up here, even though it looks
Right.
paved, so you have to be careful. I mean, you know.
And there's still a sign, there's a sign in there, that says stop line back before you even hit the
I think
triggers.
they got rid of that.
No, I just saw
It's
it
still there?
Sunday morning.
Yeah,
You're waiting for an hour.
No, I was walking home.
we can take it down. You got a screwdriver?
I figured someone would wipe it out, but they haven't.
Yeah.
So those are a lot of the issues that are going on, and it's great to see that they're working on it. What's the next step, or where are they moving?
Well, next step is we'll talk about it at the next transportation meeting next month. But it
Because I-
seems like the time to think about this stuff is now. The information on the end there was Mass DOT is going to redo the bridge on 140 over 290. So that'll be under construction for
Over 290?
Over 290.
Oh, really? Okay, another problem in Boylston.
Yeah, well, actually it's in Shrewsbury. I think.
Oh, that's Shrewsbury? Okay.
Yeah, I think the town line is right there.
Okay.
Oh, they're gonna redo the bridge itself that goes over 290.
And they're going to reconfigure it to make it not as hugely wide.
Really?
With four lanes of traffic plus the
Emergency.
entrance. They're gonna make it so it's, you can't
11
go
feet
through there
wide.
about 80 miles an hour. Yeah, they're gonna make it 11 feet. Yeah.
Who pays for the engineering study? Is-
For the bridge?
No, not for the.
No,
bridge.
for any work that we have
Is it
done.
140 State Road?
State road.
Is it component off?
It's,
No,
well, they have,
140 is not a
there's a
state
map,
road.
there's a map in here about all the roads in town that are eligible for federal funds.
It is for that.
And Lee Street and roads like that are included.
Yeah, but we do need to
Because
come up with the engineering.
Right, we
money.
gotta do we have to get it started.
Yeah,
Right.
we need
It's
to have a.
Yes, and I'm sure at some point, once you get the state interested, somebody.
No, the state doesn't do anything, nobody does anything until you
No.
have a proposal which involves that first study. At least that's the impression I get.
Who pays for the study?
That's what it is.
Yeah,
The
it's-
town
Usually
goes to
the town usually does that.
The town would pay for
But I
it?
mean, those are some of the questions we're going to.
Yeah,
Where does it?
That's kind of the problem with all that.
Like you say, what's the next step, the first step? But I mean, I think we still need to establish what's going on at the center of town, the whole triangle situation. But that's kind of a separate thing than improving the road down at the S curve and improving the.
Or Shrewsbury.
Yeah.
We're less concerned about the stuff at Shrewsbury.
Yes, yes, but trying to make it continuous from Boylston all the way up
Yeah,
to
no, that's,
Sterling. 'Cause Sterling-
actually, I think you should argue that, the road is very inconsistent all the way up. I mean, it goes from 4 lanes over the highway,
Yeah.
then it comes down to 2 lanes kind of going through Boylston,
Right.
and then it
Two
turns
wide lanes.
2 wide lanes, sort of a boulevard kind of thing. And then it goes down there until you get down to the reservoir, and then it S curves up, and then it becomes this sort of tiny little road going through West Boylston, and then it widens back out on the other side of West Boylston, and, it's-
Yep,
Right.
that's good, good to see
Yeah, so
progress.
it's good, it is good progress. When you talk about trends, traffic always increases, doesn't ever decrease.
I was gonna say a trend, it's always up, right?
It's always up. Sometimes you do that with student population, and of course that went down.
Yes,
So
that's
that's sort
right.
of surprising. But yeah, traffic usually doesn't, unless there's a.
I think we should design for driverless cars.
What are they gonna do with the bridge?
Do you want me to
You can look at it, read through it.
Yeah.
and bring it back next time, or bring it back?
I'm not sure.
Oh, that stinks.
Is that a spare copy?
Is this
for
an
the
extra
board?
That's, yeah, that was
The
the board.
board's copy?
The board's
What's
copy,
that?
right.
Do you want
Yes,
it?
that's the board's copy.
Do we have a
Is it
file
electronic?
for 20 highways? No. Why don't you look through it and return it back?
Scans.
Mark, can you look at the last page there and see whether they're gonna start that work at the bridge?
Curious.
Very last sheet,
Monday,
stapled
Friday.
together.
Of the staple card?
Yeah, it's on the other side of that sheet.
Let's see, Shrewsbury. Well, the meeting was 9:21.
That one is like 140, we're doing all the.
Yeah,
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 with the
with the
Dunkin'
with the
Donuts.
FedEx,
Right down the street there.
the FedEx
That's
decision.
what I thought it was. but I'm
Yeah.
not sure.
Hold on.
Must say somewhere. He made it sound like it was soon, but you're right, I mean, the cold weather's coming, so they might not start this year.
Yeah.
I don't think
Yeah,
so.
once we get all the construction down at the reservoir done, then we'll have to slow down further up.
Traffic
Right,
calming,
yeah,
it's called
exactly.
traffic calming.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah.
I don't think they're done, because they're still talking about their
What is
hearings.
this,
and things.
25%?
Oh, good.
Or is it 75%?
I want to continue to go emails about it.
Design, public hearing.
But they don't know those non-anticipated.
All right, so that.
Anyway, so it sounds like they're ready to help us
That's great.
along with this sooner rather than later.
Good, good. Stay on, Rich.
Yeah,
Like I said, the letter that he included here was from a year ago.
yes.
And
Are you gonna scan that, Mark, and send it to us, so that we can put it in? Okay.
I read past community preservation,
oh, I missed that.
yes, you did, they met last week, and you approved, the request to continue to secure funding to engage consulting services to advise the town in the area of community housing. That was approved,
Wait, say it again?
grant.
Oh, the.
Community housing, yeah, they approved, the CPC approved $25,000 request, not to exceed $25,000. Sometimes it's less than that, last year was less than that, but the committee approved it. That's about it.
Sounds good. Any other meetings, board?
Well, I'll talk about, I'll thank them from our meeting for them approving our consultant.
Excellent.
Let's see, all sorts of stuff's happening in that meeting. Sajah Gardens is moving on, and actually you're following that more than us, but we're following, I don't know if we just know about it. It's nice that we keep going back and forth on the price that affordable housing is, and we don't like the price.
Too high?
The rent is too high.
The rent is too
And
high.
it's not
Even
called
for-
Sergeant Gardens anymore.
What is it called?
92 at North Main Street,
No,
which
Oh, shit.
is not,
92 North Main Street.
which is,
Yeah, that's the least of our problems.
The financial review of, someone
Copper Terrace.
about for Terrace is moving along. The reviewer thinks they might have it within a month, so that's good. Anything over the profit they're supposed to have is a town bounty.
Goes to the Housing Trust Fund?
So that's moving along, and then we're probably gonna come to some end of that in the next few months.
Good. Good.
What else is going on? We did run into a snag with the property and having two parcels. Apparently, all of the people that we talked to about that think that's gonna be a hang-up for people building, like, issuing a lease on part of a piece of property, not the whole lot. It might make funding and stuff like that difficult. So now we're talking about,
Well, I volunteered to review a letter that I haven't seen yet, so.
well, that's because she had it reviewed and they don't think that the lot is gonna work. They talked to Mass Housing, or contacted Mass Housing Partnership. I don't know if she talked to DHCD, and she talked to a couple of her other planner professionals in her office. And they think it has to be a lot, separate lot. So now we have a frontage problem.
Yes.
Okay.
And what is this for?
That's for the senior housing behind
Okay.
Orchard,
Yeah,
Okay.
that's it. Anything else, Bob?
Yes.
What else?
Back in November, we got a letter from DACD about the subsidized housing inventory list.
It's a job.
And Sergeant Gardens was not on it, still had a 0. So contacted the Affordable Housing Trust, the housing specialist, and asked her, how do we go about getting this rectified? And she told me what I needed to do. Went to the building inspector, got a copy of each building permit for building A, building B, building C, sent them a letter back in June, and we just got notification that Sergeant Gardens, well, it's now 92 at North Main Street, is now, we went from 5.71 to 8.17. So it's
So now it's included.
so now we're within 2% of that 10%.
I'm 10% behind.
Which means that if we get to the, if for some reason we got to the 10%, we're golden.
But aren't we in compliance with our housing production plan? Because there's a standard of getting to the 10%, but as long as you're showing the progress that's noted in your housing production plan, which I think that by getting up to 8 something, it shows progress, so we would then.
Well, I talked to a few.
I don't think we're in trouble.
No, I talked to a few people that I know, outside, that are,
Yeah.
and they said that basically, you better, even though you have that 1.5 land analysis, which you could use, they basically told me that you're better off trying to get the 10%, because at the 10%, no developer's gonna even bother to try and come in. But if they see you're under 10% and you go to try to use, they come in and you wanna use that 1.5, right? Then they told me that basically it's kind of a crapshoot, especially the way DHCD works. It's like going to, like one of my friends told me, he says, it's like going to a casino, putting money on either red or black. It's like a 50-50 chance.
They also said it would incur some legal fees because it's
Right.
gonna go to some land court. You're gonna have
Right.
to,
Oh, if you do that.
Right.
if you do the land area.
Process.
You're gonna have to,
Oh, the
oh,
land
no,
area.
the land area, if you're gonna defend it, at some point it's gonna get real and it's gonna be in land court to get approval.
Housing.
Or how's it going?
I understand, and I know that you personally have been, pushing for this, and believe me, I understand that whole concept, and I agree wholeheartedly with you. It's just that, me personally, from my perspective, I would rather see us at the 10%. I really would not want us to try to use that 1.5, because like I said, everybody tells me it's basically a crapshoot. And the legal expenses and all that, and I don't know if the town really, but if we need to do that, then, we'll do what is in the best interest of
But
the
if we
town.
build, the other thing that happens is if we build this senior housing, we're there.
Right.
So it doesn't matter.
But
And
that
that's
senior
how it
housing,
was
but
Yeah.
Mark, you're absolutely correct, but that senior housing, you're looking at 3, 4, 5 years down the line.
Oh, I don't know.
Or
Good
even
day.
longer,
Right.
so I'm sure that somewhere along the line, there's gonna be another 40B
Yeah.
project.
I
Somebody's
think
gonna
just
come up.
whatever the next 40B is gonna push us over.
And if we get it before the 2020 census, we're golden for 10 years.
Well, that's true. So we've got 3 years now.
Lots of luck. All right, so we got that.
Yes, me.
Yeah,
So,
If you have time for us to.
I was at the FISC. The police station is on time, under budget. Yeah, ahead of time, under budget.
nice.
They may be talking about moving sometime end of October.
Come to us, yeah.
Everything is ready. And,
Do you have to build that antenna? Build
Don't
the
change
antenna?
the subject.
The same thing, it's police station.
which entrance?
The police station antenna.
No, the antenna over on Beaman Street that.
No, not
Can't put it.
No, okay.
And for the senior center, they locked in the site, floor plan.
Which different than we were told.
Yeah. Little different, It's
I
not
was
like-
locked in, I love that original one.
So then we talked about the elevation plan.
Pretty building.
Also,
Yeah.
different.
So this is the final elevation plan?
It's not, it
It's
is,
all one story.
I think, he may be still working on it, but it is the plan.
bigger footprint.
Attic storage up above?
Or vaulted ceilings?
There is some storage, but I don't think so, a lot of storage, right? I'm not sure.
We're happy with,
We haven't,
we're happy with the
didn't get
storage.
it.
Is there
But-
storage up above, is the question.
I don't believe so.
And that was the question.
Yeah.
So,
And I did talk about you were leveling the field,
yeah, an area around.
leveling the field. Don't think so that will work, that will happen. Because they won't have the enough material to move around, you know, yeah. They say it is a top.
They haven't even done the building plan, how do they know how much material they're gonna pull?
Because it's going to be on the same footprint of the school,
Yeah?
so they may not be getting more.
So you're ripping out just concrete?
Again, you know, it's all preliminary,
Right.
But
but
it's top of a
I
hill.
don't know whether they get, the thing is, you know, the architect said, you know, he may not be getting enough fill to put that thing on the
That's,
playground.
Well, then we want this whole thing a foot lower.
that's how you, I mean, that's how you get it. He hasn't really
So
said grade.
there will
so
be
just-
definitely there will be a round table,
Yep.
so Mark will be invited.
Good.
He can give all the suggestions.
Specifically, I will be.
Yeah, he will be invited.
Good.
You can give all the suggestions.
No.
All right, so they're moving forward, so that's
Now
good.
we're 12.
And also, the one other thing is, it's not 13,000 square feet. It's less than what?
Less than
11.
1,000 square feet?
No. It's 1127, I would say.
Thought it was 12 something.
Yeah, 10,270.
Is that,
Is
is
that-
that
It's
gross?
it's gross.
Gross, okay.
Earlier it was 10,300,
Okay.
so it's less.
Good.
So. You could put a big porch, a 1,200 square foot porch.
There's some people in town are gonna be disappointed when it comes to under budget for both projects, because they were so sure that it would be way over, right?
Which one, the police?
Either one.
Yeah.
So,
The folks who were vocal about, oh my God, oh my God, oh my
Yeah,
God,
but-
the sky's falling.
again, you know, everyone was invited, so they can come and.
Actually, I think you're obligated to come in under budget if you ask for too much money.
So they can come to any of the FISP meetings, right? For that matter, they could come to the planning board, too.
They could.
We always have at least one person.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, and proud to be a senior citizen too.
But we're missing the.
So anything else from other boards, or is that just?
That's it, that's all.
Thank you. All right, moving on to citizens' comments.
Council on Aging?
Okay, Dave Green, 86 Sterling Street, okay? I'm not here representing the ZBA, I'm here as a
Private citizen.
private citizen, okay? I live in the condos next to the motel, okay? We were under the impression, because I know that the developer has his demolition permit and he has his building permits. They were issued to him just before the 4th of July, okay? I guess he's been having some issues with the water department about whatever's going on with that, the meters and stuff. Anyways, yesterday I was approached by one of the trustees of our condo association. They know that I'm very active in the town. What they want, what they would like to see is they don't have any idea of what's going on. And what they were requesting, wanted me to ask the board is if there could be a meeting set up between the planning board, the condo association, and the developer to find out what his plan is, because we're getting close to the winter, you know, and we need to know who's gonna be responsible for plowing. Plus, we have an issue because they went out and surveyed the property, and if the markers are correct, the road, when you turn off of Sterling Street to come in, and the condos are on your right and the motel, it seems that now that road, we were told originally that half that road belonged to the condos and half of it belonged to the motel. Now we're finding out that that road plus more footage on our property now supposedly belongs to them. So we need to find out what is actually going on. We also need to find out if during construction, if they're gonna be closing off, you know, Sterling Street, you know, so that the construction people can go. You
Well,
know,
the Sterling Street construction
Right.
access.
Right. There was talk about the developer wanted to block off the street so that the people in the condos couldn't go up to Sterling Street, that we would use the back entrance for 110. I did talk to some people, and specifically the post office, and they said that legally they can't do that because the condo building, the legal street address is 86 Sterling Street. So you cannot block off access for the postman to come down there to deliver the mail. And it also creates a problem for us because there's only going to be one way in and one way out. Because now we have, access to both 110 and to Sterling Street. So that was what they wanted me to ask the board, is if they could, somehow there could be a meeting, because they know that you guys are the ones that are, this board is responsible for the, the site plan review and the plans. They were very concerned about what's going on. Like we said, we all thought that, that the demolition, everything would already be done and stuff. We just want to know what's happening, and I think that as direct abutters, I believe we have that right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, you did before when, we were having a public hearing, but now it's over.
Yeah, I'm wondering what's going on there too.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking the same. Maybe we're actually planning a coordination meeting with the building inspector, the Conservation Commission, ZBA, Board of Health, trying to get together to improve coordination and communication. So this would be a good example of it, because I think the coordination center would be the building inspector on this, because we haven't gotten any word from it at all. The only thing I've seen is we were copied on something from the water district saying that there were issues with the metering and the water supply, that corrections are being made. But we approved the plan, and we're still waiting for notification to go out and monitor the deep hole, the last deep hole that needs to be done on that drainage.
well, to be honest with you, I
We don't
haven't
know.
seen anybody over there at all.
Yeah, we haven't seen anything, and the building inspector issued them a permit.
Right.
And
Back in
he's the
July.
center of the coordination. Yeah, so he's centering all the coordination stuff. If he wants our feedback, we'd be happy to give it to him, but I think it's more the building department that would handle setting something up, answering questions, because I don't even know when the permits were issued.
Well,
I know their timeframe sounds right.
The condo association just thought that because this was something that was, being approved by the,
Yeah.
the planning board, is that, you would be the first round, that you would be the one called in to call it.
Once he gets under construction, then
Oh, we want to know
what's going
before
on.
construction even
Right.
starts.
But that's what I mean, is the planning board is more for the site plan development, so as the construction is going, that's where we would be. We would have the review engineer out there, and things would be monitored at that time, but for a developer dragging their feet or having other issues that come up, it's not, we have no knowledge of it at all. We're anticipating notification a couple of weeks before he starts doing any alterations, and then we'll be more aware of what's going on. But until he says he's moving forward, this may go a year and nothing happens.
So you're saying he flagged the property, he surveyed the property?
Yeah, he's already surveyed the property, like I said.
If the,
Which is good, they should do that.
but if the property flags don't seem to coincide with our site plan, maybe we should ask him to sort of take a second look. Because he's saying that the flags make it look like he's losing a lot of his
Yeah.
condo complex property.
Like I said,
So we should just check that-
when Doug George owned the property, he told us, because he built the motel, the big building, not the small building, but the building, and him and his father also built the condos at the same time. And that road access was an easement for the condos and for the motel, all the way from Sterling Street to 110, because he used to have a sign at the bottom, at the end of the road on 110 to show people that there was a motel up there.
Yeah.
Now, our bylaw says, the condo association says that if that does not stay a motel, then we have the right to not let anybody use the back end of the property. They can't
Which
have
side, the
it.
Sterling Street side?
No, the 110 side,
Okay.
okay? Because that's basically our property. We just gave them an easement as long as providing that it was still a motel. But now that it's not gonna be a motel, you know, and we still have problems with people crossing from 110 to Sterling, you know, to Sterling Street and Sterling Street to 110. And we're trying to avoid, you know, the traffic, because we do have some kids that, you know, live in their condos and stuff. And we don't know what's gonna happen when they build, you know, those 60
Well, we do
units.
know that, from memory, the plan has, that road is gone.
Yeah.
They were planning on maybe putting something in, like a fire.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing, they can't cut off our access to Sterling Street.
I guess that didn't come out
They
in
did.
the
Yeah,
public hearing.
they can't do it legally.
The plan was approved.
Yeah, no, you can't do it. We'll fight them,
Well,
they can't do it. Because,
Well, then bring it up
because
now.
because if your legal address is a particular thing, you cannot have people not be able to access that road.
Right.
Now, if our legal address was Lancaster Street, then it's a whole different story. I mean, if it was reversed,
Right.
you know, but it's not.
The trouble there is that if it's on somebody else's property and you don't have a right of way on their property, then you're out of luck.
Well, see, that's what we're trying to figure out.
Right, but the other thing is that you're probably right that you need to, if your address is a certain street, you may need to build a new driveway into Route 12.
I don't think they have a problem.
If you lose the access onto Route 12, and you're required to have access on Route 12, you need to have access onto Route 12 from your lot. So that,
But I don't think they have property to build the driveway on.
well, they have frontage on Route 12, so,
No.
yeah, you gotta have frontage.
Yeah,
on
but
Route
the
12.
thing is,
You have frontage?
it's a slope. Yes.
Oh, I didn't know your property went all the way. I thought that other guy's property.
That's-
It's their address.
Yeah, so when the plan came in, that was never raised, actually, it was
It went the
raised,
other
and
way.
there was some discussion, and they said there was agreement that we could block that off with a fire.
Because they amended, I remember them coming in with a plan that came through, a road that came through, and then I don't know, some discussion came through,
Make sure
and we
it
said,
works.
you don't have to have it, and they said, oh, that works better for us, because they put in a parking lot over there instead of the road.
There's no parking lot.
They've got 4
Well,
parking
four
spaces
spaces or something.
on.
They only have, they only have two and a quarter parking spots per unit.
Because a couple of them were down there.
There were 4 or so visitor spaces down off that driveway where it dead ended at the gate. That was the.
Okay.
I mean, the road sort of just came
I
around.
guess what you need to do is check the site plan, the approved site plan, which the building inspector has. Check it with him, look at where the property lines are noted on that, and see
Check
if
the
those
flags.
corners are pretty much where they say they are, and they are. in
Just
the
make sure
field.
your flags seem real.
Yeah. And then see what was.
Or you can
approved.
have them do it, you could have them check them.
Okay, so basically, in order to set up a meeting between the developer and the condo association, we'd have to go through the building inspector?
Well, that's probably your best bet, because you would do it at a public hearing and a meeting, and that's not really a, because when we meet, we do the
Do you
public
want to do
hearing.
that?
Or public meetings.
It
It seems like it'd be easier to just do it first with the building inspector. If there's a problem, then you can come to us and say, well, we've got an issue with this approved site plan because they can't make this a dead end even though we approved it. If you've got some deed that says they can't do that, then we're gonna have to contact the owner's big daddy and say, this needs to be resolved. There's a deed restriction that you're held liable for and you need to allow them access.
Think of it
But
as
if
a,
it doesn't exist, then it's just something that the 2 neighbors have to work out.
right, an informal fact finding first before moving forward.
Yeah, like I said, when it was first developed, that whole road was supposedly 50/50. It was just a
Okay.
convenience.
And it
But
could
now we're finding, but now according to the way they surveyed it, it's not.
well, the surveyor could have made a mistake.
That's what
So
I'm
that's
checking
why
right
you
now.
want to
He
check
made a
the
mistake,
plan
he
with the
made
building
a big,
inspector.
big boo-boo.
Well,
Maybe.
if you're lucky.
Because
he
he's
doesn't-
about, from where the edge of the road is, okay? If you're looking at from Sterling Street down, where the road, where the dirt starts here, the road is, he's over about 30 feet
Towards you.
That could also be one of his control
onto
points.
our property, onto our property.
But
When-
towards you.
It may not be a property line, it could be a control point that he set his survey unit up on, and because that's where he could see what his backside. So it could just be a survey point and not a property line.
Well, he told one of the, I
Who's
talked to
he?
one of the trustees, and they told me that he was out there when they were surveying, he told them that that's the marker,
That's the property line?
that's the property line.
Well, then check with the building inspector on the plans, that's the first step.
But I mean, they're welcome to come, we can have the meeting here, but it's just
Yeah.
it's a public
Yeah.
meeting.
The trouble is, it's not like, it wouldn't be a working meeting, it would be an agenda item, and we talk about it for 15 minutes. And so that would,
Well, we
So,
have some
so the
resolution.
building inspector can ask Big Daddy to have a meeting with the condo association.
yeah, he can
The
ask.
condo association can too.
Yeah, you guys can just talk to him. I mean, talk to Big Daddy and say, this is
Well,
what our
I
deed
think,
says.
I think the consensus was is that they wanted to do it so that if they had, if there was any issues, you would be right here because you're basically the controlling body of this plan.
Right, but if, I don't want to waste time, not to say that the surveyor was wrong, the trustee was wrong. If you get the facts, like she said, get the facts down, and then you have your deed that says you're allowed or required to have access, and you've got a plan that shows you don't have access, then the site plan review needs to be amended. And then that's in his best interest to get it addressed with you guys first, and then present something to the planning board. If he doesn't want to meet or talk with you, then you bring the evidence to the planning board, and we say, oh, yeah, and we'll contact Big Daddy and say, we've got some issues, please respond to this.
It's really kind of, discouraging because he promised us, the condo, that he would keep us informed of everything that's going on. And nothing has ever been said, the
There
last
may not be
time,
much going on already.
but, still, it's, if you're gonna build something next to somebody, and they're in that close of proximity, you would at least have the decency to say, okay, blah, 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 something, just give us, but we have no idea, we don't know when, like I said, now their concern is the winter's coming, and, when it snows,
Again, that's his property, whenever he likes, he's going to build it, right?
I understand that, but the
And
thing is,
the coordination is something, and that's why I'm on the board here. Sometimes we seem like we're being petty and picky, because, oh yeah, he says, oh, definitely, I'll be out there and I'll do that.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we got with the soil tests, we still haven't seen that happen. But he has to do a couple other things to get the soil test done. So that's why we try to always put things on paper, so that
maybe
if,
he'll just give the whole project up.
no.
And then I'll leave on it. He seems to sort those ones up pretty good.
Yeah, I can find that easily. But I think that's what, your best bet is to start with the building inspector, and then if there is an issue, talk with Big Daddy, and then if he doesn't respond, then talk to us, and we'll put him on the agenda, and
I'll talk to the building inspector tomorrow.
thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Question from a citizen.
All right.
You
So,
gotta go sit up there.
No, you have to get up.
it's from a citizen.
You got
I want to
to
see, you want me to go there, I'll go there. I don't know if I pointed her in the right direction or not. So, it is, the property that is on the border of 94, North Main Street. And, the,
on the water.
developer continuously parks the construction vehicles all along the fencing where the apartments are down below. He converted the home, used to be the open shops years ago, growing up. He converted that home into multiple apartments. Actually, she's curious if the town even realizes how many apartments are in
There are
there.
apartments in,
94 North Main Street.
It's full of apartments.
Are there
It's
It's-
not
apartments?
apartments.
is it permanent?
There is?
So.
There's a ton.
It should be a single
Is that the
residence.
guy
He
that
took
used to have the
the, he
big
took the
mailbox?
old washing dryer machine room and made that an apartment.
So-
There's a ton of people living in that building now.
Okay,
So
so
the-
the first
the-
one stopped there.
Yeah.
The basement, the first floor, I think he still has his office.
Yeah, he still have his
He
office
does-
in there, but there's.
There are people living in that, on the level 1.
There's, I think
Upstairs.
that,
One family, or is it an apartment complex?
it's an apartment. There's
If
more
they're
than
more-
one.
It's in our off of the.
I don't know how many families live
Yeah,
there.
there's more than one apartment in that building now. And the construction vehicles are parking along their fencing every day, and,
On the
so,
road or on the other side?
right on North Main Street, so they basically bring them down from the apartment complex, and they're leaving these vehicles on North Main Street continuously. They've also started construction, this whole thing has been awful for the neighbors, because they'll start at 6:30 a.m., blah, 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 they just, anyway, so for them, they, were concerned with the number of people coming and going from the,
From the new
apartment
town?
house next door, as well as the construction vehicles that are continuously parking along the fencing of their home. And they use like a whole other access point as a little road. And just at the bottom, if you actually look at the bottom of that whole complex in that area. So who do they go to for formal complaints?
Is this
the building
just
inspector?
recently started?
No, it's been the whole time.
Right,
Because
so-
I was up there 2 weeks ago and there was no construction vehicles.
It's on and off, it's on and off, and
But
there are people who are living up there
the
that
first thing
are
is that-
driving up and down the driveway, speeding.
But it seems that people know that there's a business there, and it's not zoned for business, so the business has to get out. Unless he's got a home occupation permit with the ZBA, he's not allowed to have a business in the single residence district. So that's gotta go, if it's not permitted. If it's an apartment complex,
So, but,
Please
That's-
come see you.
that's gotta go because that's not allowed in a single residence district. So he can have a single family living in that house. No business, not multiple families, and that's it. It's a single family residence. His zoning, unless your zoning permit allowed something with that.
No, because we get an A&R for that property.
Right, but did your approval for the old 94?
I don't
Include some-
I don't remember, I have told me look it up.
I think this is for the building inspector, right? again?
Oh, yeah, it's definitely building inspector, but I think it's pretty clear.
For
It
the
shouldn't-
building inspector,
Yes.
for the apartment complex.
I'll talk to him tomorrow.
What about, even if it is an office or thing, he has to go there and investigate how many people are living and whether
Yes.
the developer is using that place as an office.
Yep.
All those things, it's all building inspector.
I think it's
He
all,
knows
it's
very
not
well.
a single residence, and then it's a violation.
Us, you know, like there's a couple different families.
Picking kids up on the bus.
I didn't think anybody was even living in that house.
No,
No,
there's
they're not.
different
I know
families
that.
in there, it's,
So you
follow the bus route.
ask him to go out there. That would be good.
While you're talking to him about,
Because I know we just got a thing about somebody's complaining about the water
Water runoff.
from 85,
84, right?
84. Yeah, and the DPW director sent an email out about it.
so these drainages are turned on, he's gonna.
No, the drainage is fine, from the road, from the thing, all the water goes to the road, but some of the water goes to that property too. Earlier it was not like that, when now a lot of water goes to that property. So that's why, I think, DPW will be putting some, what's that?
Why would they put it? It's still,
He's gonna fix it.
it's his responsibility to fix it.
But this, I think it's homeowner, he may have it
The
in-
home, well,
It's not
when was the last
homeowners.
time you had your review engineer, inspection monitor go out there and look at stuff? Because winter's coming and now would be the time to make sure that things are buttoned up,
so.
because it's gonna get real
You guys,
busy.
yeah, do you guys have VHB go out ever?
Well, whoever their person is doesn't,
It's VHB.
oh, all right.
I guess she said that the water, this was from the DPW director, it says it looks like water coming down along the curb on North Main Street, enters the property at 85 North Main Street via the driveway, and then continues over to 83 North Main Street. Talk to the resident at 85 North Main, and she will allow us to put an apron on the end of her driveway and extend the berm up towards her mailbox. This should keep the majority of the water in the roadway and onto the catch basins in front of 83 North Main Street. Some water from 92 North Main surely contributes to the problem, but if we can keep the water in the street, it solves the problem at 83 North Main Street. We'll do the repairs next week. That came from DPW director.
So that makes sense, so it's the road, the water within Route 140 that's coming into their driveway. But if he is saying that it's coming from 92, there shouldn't be anything coming to the 92 street, it's supposed to be catch basins to catch it. So
Yeah, but he says, it does contributes from
Right.
the night.
That's what I mean, is
Yeah,
it,
because we had that problem was resolved because there was, some lady had sent a complaint because when she was going down, there was a big flood of water.
yeah.
And, she went through it and, almost got into an accident. So I went up there with VHB, with Larry from VHB, and he hadn't even done anything to the catch basins. So we contacted him, Mr. Ali, we told him he needs to get that fixed. And as soon as he got it fixed, he needed to contact us. We had VHB go out there, and they said, it's fine, the water's coming down. Yeah, there's gonna be a little bit of water, but the water's going, as it comes down, it's going into the catch basin. And then he has, what do they call that?
Detention basin.
On his property at 94 North Main Street. So the water's going, but he said that there's gonna be a little bit of water that's gonna go down to the end of the road, but it's not gonna be like flooding anymore.
But
So I
that's-
thought that problem was resolved.
Well, those things would get resolved, that's why you keep having your inspector go out there and check, because things can get put in place and then you just have one big truck that drives over the little berm of stones and it flattens it down and all the water starts coming out now. So that's why you need consistent review.
Aren't there two catch basins? Are there catch basins in their driveway or in the
In
street?
the driveway,
In the driveway.
In the access road.
in the access road.
Right, so you're in the access, they should be catching everything.
Right,
And
that would
as
solve this
construction
problem that's
changes,
coming down.
right, but as construction changes, it could be working, because it's not finished paved yet, it's still preliminary.
But
So
like I
that's why
said,
you
Larry
want-
went out there and
make
checked,
sure that
after
it's
he went and
checked.
fixed it.
As
Larry
long as
went
you
out
check it
there.
regularly, that's the key. All right, moving on to minutes.
Yep. I vote to approve the minutes from August 23rd, 2017.
Did you want to look at the way you were talking
No, I
about the
got
ZBA stuff?
She gave me a copy.
You all right?
No, I,
Well, the packet came to my house, I didn't run it over to his house.
Do I have a motion?
Second.
Motion is a second. Any other discussion on the minutes?
Second.
Hold on, we're doing discussion on the minutes. Do you have some?
Second.
no, I talked to you.
Right, but everything,
Yeah.
all right. No other discussion? All in favor?
I,
Aye. And,
Motion to adjourn.
no, you gotta sign off on bills?
you've been here for 10 minutes.
No, it's been longer.
Been on than 10 minutes.
All right, we've got an invoice for VHP on the,
He's gonna drop off, if you want to sign this, he's gonna drop off the balance of that tomorrow, there was a misunderstanding about how much it would actually do.
Okay.
For Shrewsbury Street.
What did you say we're doing this? T-Mobile?
So I just
send it
wanted
to the
to-
building inspector.
Oh, for God's sake.
What permits in you? What? He's a building, he knows more of the rules, he knows all the rules, we just have a site plan review stuff.
I will send it
So
to you,
everything
because that's one thing.
goes to the building.
37.
Because it's working.
Give me a bill for VHP. How old is this? It's August. okay.
Is that Bethlehem Bible? It's the only thing going on.
No, I don't see a Bethlehem Bible Church bill.
No, that was last month, I think. I think, no.
Yeah, they probably sent you a
What
comment.
is this one for?
What is that?
137 Shrewsbury Street.
Okay.
Have you been out there to the church?
No,
Have you driven by it?
I drove by, but I didn't notice anything different. I saw a little bit of earth move, but nothing, it might have been just.
Yeah, they were working in that back, they were working in that back lawn.
So do we need this?
Yes, I do need that.
Do we need to do anything to it?
No, he's gonna send a new establishment in
Wait,
25 feet and
read
that.
my signature.
We need your signature.
No, we
Sure,
don't. We only
they-
need three.
We need an alibi for him, because
We need three signed. Come on, come on.
I'm reading them, every word.
All right, do we have a motion?
Two for 137 Shrewsbury Street?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Motion to adjourn.
And second?
A second.
All in favor?
Not designing.
Aye. You can say that. Adjourn.
I thought we were gonna be out of here an hour ago.